is presented by Discover Car, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day, and in part by Suzuki, engineered to fit your life.
Predictions here next, then Penn State, Michigan for a preview to Steve and Todd. Guys?
Chris, 14 Wolverines will play their final game today here at Michigan Stadium. We figure to run the gamut of emotions this afternoon. And good afternoon, everybody. Heading into this season, Penn State needed 7 victories. First, to get Joe Paterno the record, and secondly, to get the Nittany Lions into a bowl game. They'll fall short on both counts.
They won't be going to a bowl game for the first time since 1988. However, Steve, they do have something to play for. If they can defeat Michigan today and then next week at home against Michigan State, Joe Paterno can tie Paul Bear Bryant for the most number of wins at the Division 1A level. Now, having said that, Steve, Penn State, this is an aberration of a season for them. Let's not forget that in Joe Paterno's 35 years as head coach of the Nittany Lions, they have been to 30 bowl games. Penn State is what's good about college football.
And the legendary coach has never been beaten by the same opponent in 4 straight years. So Anthony Thomas and Michigan have a chance to make some history this afternoon. Chris Fowler, back to you.
Gentlemen, thank you. And if you're watching on ESPN2, getting set for Pittsburgh and Miami, welcome to College Station. Set the table for this game, which has a very different feel. How will Penn State, in the middle of a long season, respond after an overtime home loss to lowly Iowa? Questions of motivation here.
We have a moment of silence for Michigan's defense. Last week, 654 yards. 332 yards on the ground. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. I think they will bounce back today. Last game at home for the seniors. Guys, get the troops together here. Get them fired up and win this game. I think Anthony Thomas will have a big day.
Watch that Michigan defense against the Buckeyes. Yes, sir. I just thought I'd mention it. The team that beat Michigan last week, Northwestern, they won 4 of the last 5 against Iowa. They average over 36 points a game. I think Northwestern will score over 40 and beat Iowa.
Meanwhile, elsewhere, quarterback injuries are epidemic. Michael Vick will not start against Central Florida. Be careful there. Quincy Carter out for the game against Auburn. Phillip Rivers doubtful for NC State. And for Boston College, Tim Hasselbeck is not going to play as the Eagles travel into South Bend. We know the Irish have had quarterback injury problems. What gives in this rivalry here?
Well, I think if you look at Notre Dame this year, they've been able to win games all year long by playing great defense and great special teams and being very conservative on offense. But don't look now, but Matt LaVecchio, the young freshman quarterback, starting to get a little bit more confident. 9 touchdown passes in the last 5 games. That's the difference today. I think Notre Dame gets it done. They win again.
Well, Notre Dame under Bob Davie is 6-0 after off weeks. They've had an off week. But here's the key stat why I'm picking Notre Dame. This is the first BC game on natural grass.
Oh, little tit. All right.
Little tit.
As the Aggies take the field behind us, it is time for predictions here. What gives Oklahoma's first test as a #1? The Aggies, long tradition of payback, and Slocum's success against ranked teams right here, Kirk. You go first.
Let me clear the path here for my man. I'll get it out of the way very simply. Last night, very impressed with the crowd. I'm going to be more impressed today to see how hostile this environment will be here at Kyle Field. However, I am sold on Oklahoma. I really am. I think that they go into tough situations and they handle it. Their quarterback, Josh Heupel, is the most talented in the nation, and I think he will handle the stress of this crowd. Well, Oklahoma's for real. When will people believe that Oklahoma right now is the #1 team in the country?
That's Aggie
including
booing.
you. When will you believe?
Right here. Look at this one. Major upset. Texas A&M. Texas A&M over your Oklahoma team. Reporting for duty, sir.
It's been great. We thank you for watching from College Station. On ESPN coming up, Penn State and Michigan for the Big House, Pittsburgh and Miami on ESPN2. Enjoy.
Picture college football, and you picture this, the biggest of houses hosting 2 of the game's most storied programs. It's Michigan, it's Penn State. Enough said. 160th consecutive game, Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor will host better than 100,000 fans. The 21st ranked Wolverines entertain the Nittany Lions of Penn State. Hi, everybody, and good afternoon. Alongside Todd Christensen, I'm Steve Levy. This is a series that dates back to 93. That's 1993. And for the first time in the 8 meetings, both teams don't come into this contest nationally ranked. As for Michigan, they scored 51 points a week ago and lost. But Drew Henson, the offense, they've really found their rhythm.
Well, Anthony Thomas takes care of the running game. Drew Henson has been outstanding at quarterback over the last 5 or 6 games. Remember, Steve, he missed the first 3.5 games of the season, and so those numbers are essentially what you can see for 6 games. The one that stands out, of course, is that 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. Steve, if he continues that into his senior year, it's not going to be a big decision between football and baseball. He'll take the former.
Penn State has something to play for, clearly. If they don't win their final 2 games, they'll finish with their worst record since prior to World War II. Their quarterback, Rashard Casey, after a slow start, he's really come on nicely.
And I think your heart has to go out to Rashard Casey because of the difficulties that he has had this year, not just from the legal side of things. An offensive line that's been injured, wide receivers that have been hurt, runners that have not come up to pick up the slack. So he is the man that has to get it done for Penn State today. Look for him to have his hands on the ball a lot.
Well, the Wolverines don't want to hear about this, but the visiting team has won 5 of the 7 previous games. The opening kick is on the way, but first to Brian Kenny and Rod Gilmore.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Of course, Rodney, Purdue has to fall in the Big Ten for anybody to move up and get out to the Rose Bowl, but it's a pivotal day across the country, a lot of conferences.
Well, you're absolutely right, and Purdue could, in fact, win the conference to get to the Rose Bowl if they should win and get a Northwestern loss. In fact, there are 11 potential situations where you can win a conference or a division today, so I think we might call this clinching Saturday.
We're going to keep Rodney here throughout the day, and, of course, triple header here on ESPN. Here's the lineup. And we got college football coming your way right after Penn State, Michigan. Rodney and I right after the game, the Acura College Football Today scoreboard show. Ohio State and Illinois at 4 Eastern time. And then Rodney and I will get you set up and get full highlights of the day at 7 Eastern time. College Football Tonight scoreboard. That's a half hour getting you ready for Georgia and Auburn at 7:30 Eastern time. We'll wrap it up, take you up to Sports Center at 11 Eastern time. A lot of football today on ESPN. Capping things off, Reese, Rodney, John Makovic will be here for College Football Tonight's scoreboard show, midnight Eastern time. You're here for the long haul, my man.
Ready to go, buddy.
Drew Henson getting ready for Penn State. Penn State, Michigan, the first half. Enjoy, everybody. We'll see you at the half.
Welcome back to Ann Arbor. 2 of the top 5 winningest programs all time, Penn State and Michigan. And the climate could not be better. 50 degrees, sunny skies, with wind gusts of 20 miles per hour. Dave Ryan is on play-by-play assignment this afternoon. So we are pleased to be joined by ABC's Leslie Goodell on the sideline. Leslie.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here. Well, Northwestern's 54-51 win against Michigan last week was one of the great finishes in college football. The Wolverines are looking to put that loss behind them. With that loss, their Big Ten title hopes were greatly diminished. It was all over when Anthony Thomas fumbled the ball late in the game. When Thomas walked off the field, running backs coach Fred Jackson noticed tears in his eyes. So Lloyd Carr knew the fumble ended the game, but not the season. He called Thomas into his office earlier in the week, told him it's not the last time you're going to fumble, but hopefully it's the last time you fumble at Michigan. Carr said Thomas responded well at practice this week, and with 2 games left to play, the Wolverines can still finish the season 8-3. They're already bowl eligible, but if they win out, they have a shot at a New Year's Day bowl game. That includes the Rose Bowl, but Steve, a lot would have to go their way for that to happen.
Leslie, that's true. Purdue and Northwestern would have to lose their final 2 games. Then Michigan and Ohio State would play for the right to go to the Rose Bowl on November 18th. Joe Paterno looks terrific in the first year of a new 5-year contract.
A lot of energy for a man who's going to turn 74 in December. He still very much loves to coach. In fact, he said the most annoying part of coaching, meeting with us.
And he wasn't kidding, but there was no chuckle following that statement. Among the many things and pearls of wisdom Joe shared with us, I've always believed it's a game of attrition. You make the other guy say ouch, and when he says ouch, you've got the game won.
I will say, though, Steve, in the conversation that we had with him regarding that particular quote, he did concede the fact that more and more the game is being put in the hands of the quarterback, and they're having to spread things out. Hence the reason why, for the first time in their history, Penn State this year incorporated the shotgun.
David Kimball.
He will not let the game pass him by. Walter Cross and Chris Perry are back deep to receive for Michigan. David Kimball will put it in the air. maybe the two most recognizable college football helmets on display here this afternoon. And it's Chris Perry banging his way out to the 21-yard line. Aaron Gatton made the special team stop. And the offense for Michigan led by Drew Henson. Who's #1 in the conference in pass efficiency? It's not Drew Brees, it's Drew Henson. And the rest of our BestBuy.com starting lineup.
And speaking of #1, Steve, David Terrell is their go-to guy out at wide receiver with 11 touchdowns on the season. There's only one game this year, and that was against Michigan State, where he did not find the end zone.
And there is Terrell. Two receivers to the left of Drew Henson as they open up 1st and 10 from the 21, and they put it on the ground to the A-train. Anthony Thomas trying to break tackles and does. And he is finally knocked down at the 27-yard line by Dersick Tolles. The offensive line for Michigan, it's a good one. Could have 3 future NFLers on this bunch, especially the 2 guys on the left side, Backus and Hutchinson.
And Steve, talking about future NFL players, Justin Kirpakis, the man who has had to step up for them this year. 15 tackles for loss and 5 sacks, 66 tackles, the heart and soul of the defensive line for the Lions.
On 2nd down and 4 now. 2 receivers out to the right, and Henson will throw for the first time this afternoon, and it's off the fingertips of David Terrell. The rest of the Penn State defense looks a little something like this. Shamar Finney is one of the linebackers there, had a 49-yard interception return for a touchdown earlier this season against Illinois.
High praise indeed for #6 James Boyd, who is being compared to the great Jack Tatum. 92 tackles, leads the team, as well as his 3 interceptions.
3rd down and 4 after the incomplete pass.
Steve, Boyd is what Al Davis used to refer to as an obstructionist. He's somebody that gets in the way.
B.J. Askew has checked in, joining Anthony Thomas. And they give it to Thomas, trying to turn the corner. They bang helmets out to the 30-yard line. James Boyd made the stop there.
Stevie's going to be a little bit short, and Michigan's going to have to punt, and I don't think that's what they were looking for. It was documented by Leslie at the top of the show, the difficulty that Michigan had to face this week in practice because of the nature of the loss. Certainly they wanted to get off quicker than this, but 3 and out. Maybe they're a little stale after last week.
Hayden Epstein is back to punt for Michigan. Bruce Branch is standing all by himself at the 30 to return for Penn State. Epstein, by the way, is the punter and the kicker for Michigan, getting the majority of the action there, although Jeff Delverne has kicked a lot of extra points this season. Epstein from his own 15 to punt it away. Snap is a good one, and Epstein gets it away without a problem. The punt is a good one. Bruce Branch, ranging back to his 23, avoids 1 tackler and a second, looking for a seam, and instead runs into a sea of maize and blue. Larry Foote on the special teams tackle after the 47-yard punt. There's Rashard Casey. In his first 5 games, his completion percentage was just 46%, but in the next 5, he's pumped it up to 56%. And the rest of our BestBuy.com starting lineup.
Tony Stewart, the tight end for Penn State, is our leading receiver with 35 catches, but it was his crucial drop that turned into the interception for Iowa that defeated them in double overtime last week.
Single setback is Eric McCoo. The coaches say he does an awful lot for them in terms of blocking. He'll also line up as a wide receiver. And this time it's a fake inside handoff, and Casey to keep it himself. Still on his feet. Took an awful long time to gain 3 yards. Victor Hobson and Dwayne Patman making the stops for Michigan. The Penn State offensive line, they're a banged up bunch. 7 different starting units in the first 8 games of the season. Imani Bell is the only one of the offensive linemen to start every game this year.
Probably the key to the defensive line for Michigan is going to be the play of Eric Wilson inside. He is the one that is going to have to hang in there tough to gap it to prevent Penn State from getting any sort of running game going.
On 2nd down and 7, they give Casey the gain of 3. Off the fake to McCoo. And they send Stewart in motion. Casey again will go play action. Step up, sees plenty of green in front of him. And he is bumped down very close to the first down marker at about the 44-yard line. Linebackers for Michigan, Victor Hobson, the guy Penn State let get out of their own backyard. From South New Jersey, they recruited him heavily, and Hobson elected for Michigan.
In the secondary, arguably the best cover man is number 3, Todd Howard. 4 interceptions and 9 passes broken up this season for the Wolverines.
Casey does get the first down on a favorable spot. Michigan went 3 and out. Penn State able to get the first down. Out of the shotgun. A rare sight prior to the season, as Todd mentioned. Casey, as he's hit, threw the football and was just behind his intended receiver, Kenny Watson, who couldn't hang on.
Interesting, Steve, and I'm not saying that Joe Paterno was taking a page out of Northwestern's book, but they've started completely out of the shotgun. The very first play, the fake handoff and the quarterback taking off. Now you can see fake handoff, but nobody is blocking the on-rushing man. He throws the ball downfield. He actually had his man open. If he could just had a split second more, it would have been a big play. But Julius Curry, the strong safety, on the blitz, prevented that.
On second down and 10. Again, it's Stewart in motion, top of your screen. This time they give it to McCoo, and he's got a big hole. First down and more. He's inside the 40-yard line of the Wolverines and fired up about it.
Eric McCoo is somebody, Steve, that really has great ability, but as yet has not been afforded the opportunity. We talked about Wilson. He gets double team knocked down. McCoo right there tries to make the decisions whether or not he wants to cut to the outside or stay between the hashes. He stays between the hashes, gets the ball to the 40-yard line. I'm surprised, Steve, looking at the fact that he has only had about 120 carries on the season. I would have figured this would have been a guy, that they'd have given it to a lot.
17 yards on that last gain for McCoo. Stays in there. Casey, straight drop and throws, and the pass is completed to Kenny Watson in double coverage. Good ball there by Casey. Larry Foote the stop.
And one of the things that defensively you want to prevent is to let the quarterback get into rhythm. We were told yesterday by defensive coordinator Jim Herman of Michigan that they're going to get to Casey and knock him down and make their presence felt early on. That has not happened so far, Steve. Casey's doing very well.
You would think this would be a bad week to face the Michigan defense after they allowed an all-time record worst in terms of yardage a week ago, giving up 54 points. On second down and 3, Michigan shows blitz. They're coming with it, and the Nittany Lions run right into the blitz with Omar Easy.
Steve, you're right, 654 yards they had given up last week. They had never given up 600 in the entire history of Michigan. And there you can see Jim Herman. That's probably not a statistic that he'd want us to reveal, but that's the reality of the situation. Michigan is not the first or last team that Northwestern's going to do that too.
And what was interesting in talking to Herman, we asked him, hey, what went wrong last week? He didn't really point to anything. He said, we just have to be more consistent. We actually didn't play all that bad. That's hard to imagine. On third down and 2 now. Here's Casey looking left, holding and throwing. Had enough time, couldn't get Kenny Watson enough space, and it will fall incomplete on 4th and 2 upcoming.
Well, I would think here, Steve, because of the length of the kick, that maybe they would go for it. But instead, one of their best weapons this year has been Ryan Primanti. 13 of 15 on the season. 4 of 5 beyond 40, which is a tremendous stat for a kicker. The difficulty here, though, Steve, as you documented at the top when you mentioned weather, the winds are swirling. It's very difficult for a place kicker when the wind is like that.
Todd, this will be a 49-yard field goal attempt. He's perfect from 30 to 49 this season. 10 for 10. Can he make it 11 for 11? No, cannot. Just missed. And so the Wolverines will take over as Primanti misses from 49 yards away. And Joe Paterno will urge the troops on with the Primanti miss from long distance. We're scoreless in the first from Ann Arbor.
Rated E for everyone.
Ryan Primanti misses from 49 yards, but Steve, really 4th and 2 rather in that situation. Even if he'd have made it, I'd second guess and say, why not go for it? Casey's got his rhythm. Give him a run pass option. He can certainly get the first down. I would have liked Penn State to go for it in that situation.
Here's Michigan now. They'll take over on 1st and 10. Out of the 32-yard line with Dancing in the backfield. They give it to Anthony Thomas. And he moves the pile out to the 40-yard line after the gain of 9. It's nonstop college football for you today on ESPN and ESPN2. Coming up, 14th ranked Buckeyes will be in Illinois in Champaign. Little Big Ten action for you. And then tonight, Georgia and Auburn. That's the night game at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Over on ESPN2, Colorado State against Air Force at 6 Eastern. And LSU and Ole Miss the nightcap on ESPN2. LSU tied for the lead with Auburn in the conference. And it's Thomas on the ground, making people miss, and he's across midfield into Penn State territory after the gain of 11.
Well, everybody's aware of Anthony Thomas's power, the 230-pounder, but what you might not be aware of are his quick feet. He sees things are stuffed up, cuts to the outside. There's a little bit of a shake right there, cuts off the left foot, able to get in the block of his wideout. Coming into this game, Steve, 1,320 yards and 15 touchdowns. And today he also has the opportunity to move into the all-time touchdown list if he were to get 2 today on the list of great Wolverine runners that they have had in the past.
First down, just across midfield. And it's Chris Perry, the ball carrier, the true freshman from Advance, North Carolina. Aaron Gatton made the stop.
Well, Chris Perry coming into this game, Steve, was about 6 yards per carry. I was very impressed with him when I saw him earlier, but he's been banged up, hence the reason why Thomas has had the lion's share of the load the last couple of weeks. They're not afraid to play him because they see him as the next Anthony Thomas. Similar dimensions at 6'1" and about 229 pounds.
When you play as a true freshman running back at Michigan, that's really saying something. Second down and 7.
You saw 215 there. He's listed here. It's 229. Obviously, he's buffed up since they took that one.
Here's Drew Henson rolling to his right and throwing, and had a man wide open and just missed him. Marquise Walker, that would have been there for a big gain.
Very unlike Drew Henson to have a guy that wide open and not be able to deliver the ball. Coming into this game, a 63% completion. Look at that, just wide open, throws off the right foot. Just too far for Walker.
And that was something we were told Henson has really improved on this year in terms of touch. He's always had the gun for the arm. In fact, with his baseball background, they say he used to throw every ball like a third baseman. He gunned every throw, and his touch has really come on this season.
Not on that one.
Third down and 7. That would have been right over the first baseman's head. Here's Henson on a straight drop back, and Penn State applying pressure. Henson with all sorts of time now gets rid of it, and if he could have had a second longer to hang on to it, he would have been able to get it to his tight end Bill Seymour. But Jimmy Kennedy applying the pressure for Penn State.
Nonetheless, Steve, he shows some pretty impressive athleticism because there were about 2 or 3 times where he should have been sacked. He was just about to throw one in the middle, decided against it, saw the tight end out the side of his eye, was able to deliver it, but of course couldn't put it on the money because somebody had him by the ankles.
Hayden Epstein is back to punt for the second time this afternoon. Kenny Watson, Rod Perry rather, is back deep at the 10-yard line. It's a sky-high punt by Epstein, and a flag and a fair catch called for by Perry. First penalty marker of the afternoon. We're off to a big start. Not bad. Nearly 6 minutes in.
Ever the cynic. Well, that'll set him back a little bit. Certainly that's what happened to one of the gunners on the outside. He was held up so he couldn't get downfield.
Both programs come off disheartening losses from a week ago. Joe Paterno and Penn State, they fell to Iowa in overtime. This was the first overtime. Rashard Casey from 6 yards away, going to keep it himself and make it in the end zone, putting the pressure on Iowa. They would answer, though, on their possession. An 11-yard touchdown by Liddell Betts after an Iowa field goal. Casey off Tony Stewart. Ryan Hansen diving for the interception, ending the Penn State possession and the football game. Iowa beats Penn State 26-23, eliminating them from bowl eligibility. On 1st and 10, here come the Nittany Lions after a pretty good first series. And the first play of the second series, not so good, as Eric McCoo is taken down by Victor Hobson.
Victor Hobson showed some great speed to go right with McCoo, stride for stride, and not let him get outside, but drag him down for yet another tackle for loss for this youngster.
Mentioned Hobson from South Jersey, and Penn State really wanted him. Well, you think of the magnitude of these two programs, they're constantly battling, regardless of the geography. All over the country, these two are battling for the finest athletes coming out of high school. Omar Easy checks in. He's the lone setback now on 2nd down and 12. Here's Casey throwing, nearly picked off. The pass went behind the intended receiver, Kenny Watson, and Hobson and Whitley were right there.
Very lucky that he didn't get this one picked. You're absolutely right. He throws the ball behind. Whitley hits him right in the 5, but of course what he's anticipating, because he's beaten on the route, is he needs to get in there and bat the ball down. He's surprised that the ball is that catchable, and the result is he can't come up with it.
James Whitley is a guy that Penn State folks are tired of seeing. They said, hey, it seems like he's been around forever. Well, the senior did start as a freshman, so he's been around as long as possible.
Second in career passes broken up, Steve, behind Charles Woodson. Pretty good company.
3rd down and 12 now. Here's Casey under some pressure, guns it out to the tailback McCoo, and he's out to the 11-yard line, rather the 16-yard line, but he will be shy of a first down. Larry Foote made sure he didn't reach the marker.
He was able to juke Howard a little bit, but as you pointed out, able to come up and stuff him before he can get the first down, and now Michigan should get excellent field position.
David Royer will punt it away for Penn State. Ronald Bellamy is on his side of the football field. The numbers on Royer: 16 of his 53 punts this season have been dropped inside the 20-yard line.
Steve Bellamy pretty impressive. 13 yards a punt return.
Good pressure by Michigan, nearly blocked. Bellamy will let it bounce way short. Hits at the 40, and it's dropped there. So the Wolverines will take over in great field position. After just a 22-yard punt, we remain scoreless.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Buick and your local Buick dealers. And by Madden NFL 2001 from EA Sports. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Back in Ann Arbor with about 110,000 of our closest friends. Scoreless, Michigan and Penn State. There you see the series history. The last meeting, Penn State only 7 yards rushing. That is simply amazing. That on 20 carries a season ago. Michigan scored 14 points in the last 3.5 minutes to win. Michigan now, and Drew Henson on the run, running for his life, floated out the sideline, and he really threw it away. Sports Center in game. Let's check in with Brian Kenny.
Steve, we go to Miami and Pittsburgh, and sound familiar? John Turman in Florida. Didn't mean to go with Buchanan, but he does. Philip Buchanan for the Hurricanes. And he's bringing this back 72 yards all the way for a touchdown. But watch the celebration. It led to a penalty, and they missed the extra point, which is a little farther back. So it's only 6-0, Steve.
Wow. Brian, thank you. Brian will keep us posted on everything going on in the sports world today with Sports Center in game throughout our football game this afternoon.
Nothing like trying to legislate emotion, is there?
Boy, tough week to be a resident of Florida, huh? With all the jokes, and it's going to be a couple of weeks. With Drew Henson being 0 for 4 passing, he put it on the ground to Anthony Thomas, and Shamar Finney made the stop.
He did make the stop. It was an interesting tackle here. Watch, it looks like he just pushes him down. Hey, get out of the way. Go down. And he does. Well, that's some left hook. Maybe that's something David Tua could use tonight, huh?
Covering all these sporting events tonight. Who do you like tonight in the big Lewis Tua fight?
Well, I tell you what, that 7-inch reach advantage, that's a little bit much.
Go with the height or the haircut?
Oh, that's right. I like that cloth. You're right about that.
There you see the career rushing yards Todd referred to today.
Pretty good company.
Tyrone Wheatley could be passed this afternoon. Here's Henson now. Stepping up and firing him too high for David Terrell, who goes 6'3" and is a leaper. But he couldn't get to that one. And Henson 0 for 5. We talked about the rhythm he's been in prior to today, and not showing it here in the first quarter.
A couple of factors here, Steve. One is that, as we talked about, there is a bit of a swirling wind going on, and he's staying out. They're not going to punt. Evidently, that they're going to go for it here, which is surprising to me, 4th and 9.5. I mentioned the wind, and the other factor, too, is, you know what, Penn State's got a pretty good secondary. You know, that's one of the parts of their game that has been very strong this year. Just ask Drew Brees when Penn State defeated them 22-20. Could be a pooch punt here.
Here's Henson. This is his second punt of the season, and that one goes into the end zone.
Well, that's an ugly one, Steve, because that ends up being about a 18-19-yard net as he just powered it into the end zone. I'm thinking in that situation, certainly, you know, 4th and 9, you don't want to go for it, but he had what he wanted. He just whacked it a little bit too far.
Henson's first punt of the season also went for a touchback, a 42-yard punt, though. So he's got some experience in that department.
So if we figure out the punting efficiency, you know, which is one of those very complicated statistical things, I would say that his ain't so good.
Here's Penn State now. They come out on 1st and 10 from the 20. Eric McCoo, single setback for Rashard Casey. Stewart in motion, top of your screen. Casey looking that way and connecting with Stewart, and bang, right there on the play. Immediately after Stewart caught the football, he was slammed into by Todd Howard.
Inevitably, when you run that zone defense and you have your corners out in the flat and 2 deep safeties, when you're a tight end, sometimes you have to run into that. But you got to be reminded, your quarterback has to be aware of this and throw the ball a little bit behind so you don't get whacked. He led Stewart right into it. We mentioned the numbers earlier with regards to Howard on the team, doing a great job at the cornerback position. Also proves that he can hit a little.
Gain of 2 after the hard hit. It's McCoo, and he takes on a defensive back, and he's out to the 32 for a first down. Took on Dwayne Patman there of Michigan.
I asked Joe Paterno about McCoo. I said, why is it that he doesn't carry the ball more? And he said that he's not built to do that. But when you look at his dimensions, he's 5'10", and he's about 205, 210, almost the identical dimensions of someone by the name of Walter Payton. And so evidently McCoo is a little more effective, not just between the tackles. You saw their quickness. He's one of their best receivers when they go to the 3 wideout sets.
Todd, part of that also, I think, is they're trying to find a place for Omar Easy. He is checked into the lineup right now. Easy has. That pass is completed to Tony Johnson. James Whitley on the coverage there.
Tony Johnson, a freshman receiver. His father, Larry, is the defensive line coach for the Nittany Lions, as well as his older brother, Larry, is a reserve tailback. So it's a Carroll O'Connor thing. It's all in the family.
We were told there are 6 different Johnsons on Penn State. Good thing they don't wear their last names on the back of their uniforms. Eric McCoo just dropped that football, and because of the bobble and drop, that was nearly intercepted.
I remember when you were talking about that. I remember years ago when they had that in the NBA, they had something like 40 Johnsons. There, of course, you saw Tony. There is Larry Jr. on the sidelines, the runner.
And to take the Johnson step family even further.
Yeah, what are you, a genealogist?
I know you want to do that. Tony's twin sister, Teresa, is a freshman on the softball team for Penn State. And there you go, and they're going to run out of time on the play clock there. And because of that, Penn State will use their first time out of the game. 5:23 to go in the first quarter. And we are scoreless in Ann Arbor.
When the 1,000 years are...
They always list the capacity here at 107,000. So how come it's 111,000 every single Saturday here? 2 of the top 5 programs all time in terms of career victories. Might be a down year for Penn State, but they don't have many. You can't have too many down years and still be on that list. 3rd down and 6 upcoming after the timeout. Here's Casey stepping up, all sorts of running room. He's got the first down and will scamper out of bounds just shy of midfield at the 49.
You know, Steve, I don't know what he is. I think he's like 4'5", 4'5". But when you take a look, watch the Michigan players and watch how suddenly their speed is no good. As he breaks through, he looks downfield. There's nobody open. He's able to escape. Now watch as he starts to take off. It looks like some Michigan players to the right of the screen have their angle on him, but all of a sudden, we're not. I don't think we're going to get him. I'm telling you what, he eats up some ground.
And he looks graceful doing it. It doesn't look like he's really busting
Not
it.
laboring at all. You're right.
To have that kind of speed is really exceptional. On 1st and 10, Easy is behind Casey. Casey to put it up. Throws the short pass complete to Easy for a pickup of maybe 1 on the play. Carl Diggs, the linebacker, made the stop.
Shows that he's maturing because you can see right there he wanted to take off. He saw some open grass. He said, hey, you know what, at some point I've got to have these people respect me in the pocket. So he throws the ball underneath the Easy for an easy completion. No pun intended.
Total yards. Penn State dominating so far, but on the big board here at the big house, it's a couple of goose eggs up on 2nd down and 6. Play action to Larry Johnson. Casey buys himself some time and hits a wide open Tony Johnson inside the 20-yard line. And Casey and the Penn State offense starting to hum. Gain of 31, Todd.
Steve, everybody has this in their arsenal. It's the misdirection where they fake and go upfield. Number 11 he begins, going to come across the field. Fake is going to be here, and then he's going to come out. And so the result is it's going to be wide open here, as you see Michigan in their zone. Johnson able to get behind it, and Casey puts the ball right on the money. Great job by Casey. And, of course, that's a thrill for the young freshman to catch a ball that gets as many yards as that.
Johnson, a local kid, went to State College area high school here. So he knows all about the tradition. Casey on the run. Fights off a couple of tacklers, but here comes everyone in the maize and blue. And Dan Rumashek leading the way for the Wolverines.
Doesn't Casey, I'm going to take you back a little bit, but he reminds me, he has that X factor. He reminds me a little bit of Cordell Stewart in terms of being a terrific athlete and somebody that's very difficult to bring down. And it's nothing you can explain or nothing that you can coach. I was thinking to myself, obviously it's a little bit late, but can you imagine Casey running, say, an Air Force offense or that Nebraska offense? How amazing he'd be.
Tough guy to defense. Well, it's funny because the Michigan coach was talking about Drew Henson in a similar way, ability to improvise, don't want to coach him too much. And Casey's shown to make the big play. How about that little flip to Larry Johnson? Although the defense read it nicely.
And once again, it's your man Hobson who was not fooled. This is a popular play now, as you see across the nation. It's a fake to the back going one way, and then the quarterback quickly pitches on kind of a quasi option going the other direction. But Hobson stayed at home, showed good discipline with his second tackle for loss in this game, Steve.
Victor Hobson, the team leader, tied for the team lead for Michigan, but it's only 2 sacks.
Did you check in your family thing? Is he related to Butch?
No, I don't believe he is. Only 11 sacks for the Michigan defense all season, Todd. That's last in the Big Ten. Nearly had one there. Casey avoiding trouble. Tip ball. It was knocked away. Larry Johnson was the intended receiver. Larry Foote was able to bat it away.
And for all intents and purposes, Steve, he should have been dropped. Coming from the backside, you can see here comes Stevens coming all the way around is number 97. That's Sean Lazarus, and he can't drop him. And Casey, as a result, rises from the dead to come out and throw the ball away. Lazarus, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. Sorry.
Ouch. Cromanti to attempt the 35-yard field goal to break the seal on the scoring sheet. It is up, and it is good. Cromanti missed earlier from 49. This time he's good from 35. And Penn State showing flashes here this afternoon. The offense moving up and down the field, and they have a 3-0 lead. Order ESPN Game Plan on pay-per-view. It's not too late in the season. Watch over 100 college football games throughout the course of the season, up to 10 each weekend. And regardless of where you are, it allows you to follow your favorite teams and conferences. So call your local cable company, DirecTV, 1-800-DirecTV, or Dish Network at 1-800-333-DISH. And the Nittany Lions do travel well here. They've got Penn State fans in attendance. Let's go down to the sideline and check in with Leslie Goodell.
Steve, Drew Henson came off the field and he picked up the football and was working on his footwork on the sideline. Then he grabbed John Navarre and started throwing the football. Obviously, he feels he is struggling early on right now.
All right, Leslie, thanks. We documented earlier, Henson 0 for 5 to this point. David Kimball will kick it away. Walter Cross and Chris Perry are back deep for Michigan at the goal line. And Kimball will put it in the air. Whoa. And put it out of the end zone. An impressive kickoff there by David Kimball. And Henson and Michigan will operate 1st and 10 from their own 20.
Got specialists for everything now, right? Field goals, kicking off, punts, pooch punters. Pretty soon it's going to be the left hash guy, the right hash guy.
Yep. Long snappers in the NFL, right? Guys are just making rosters solely on long snapping ability. Don't play any other position.
That's exactly right. And Steve, when you get down to a third quarterback or a punter sometimes, they will debate as to whether or not to keep a guy based on his ability to hold for kicks.
John Navarre, who Leslie just mentioned, is the holder for Michigan for extra points and field goals. Henson will put it on the ground, and Anthony Thomas breaks one tackle but not another. He's out to the 22. Bao Ju made the first stop.
And that was impressive because little number 10, he's about 180 pounds. He just decided to step up field, lower a shoulder. Sometimes when you see corners come up to run, they want to throw at the legs and not take any chances. Instead, you saw number 10 lower a shoulder and get right in him.
Hard to imagine this is the same Michigan offense that put up 51 points last week in that wild loss to Northwestern, the 5th highest scoring game in Michigan history. Of course, didn't work out for the Wolverines. Dare I say it was the most exciting football game of this college season. On 2nd down and 8, Henson still looking for his first completion, and that one is flat out dropped by David Terrell. Might have heard some footsteps there.
What you have to do, Steve, is as a receiver, you've got to decide quickly, and it becomes one of those things that's unconscious. He decides to hands catch instead of body catch it. He's got plenty of time. Right here, as you see, now watch at the end of the play as it comes in, his hands will be backward instead of just having them right there. If he body catches it, a la, say, Lynn Swann, and he cradles the ball instead of trying to hands catch it, he's able to come up with it. Instead, it goes through his hands incomplete. Henson can't be very happy, especially the way he's been started.
You need to make a play for your quarterback. Give him some confidence. Blitz coming. Michigan picks it up nicely, and that one is short hop to B.J. Askew, the fullback. And now Drew Henson is officially 0 for 7, and the Wolverines will punt it away.
And in fairness, Aaron Gatton, the outside backer for Penn State, was putting the pressure on. Number 40 had him in his face. And, of course, Henson's thinking to himself, well, wait a minute. I just went to my stud wide receiver. You should have caught that skinny post. Instead, now they're forced to punt yet again after a 3-and-out.
Hayden Epstein will kick it away. Epstein is a candidate for both the Groza and Guy Awards for place kicking and punting. In fact, was named yesterday a finalist for the Ray Guy Award. And he'll get this punt away. And it is a high punt. Rod Perry will run up to make the fair catch at the 43-yard line. There's pro football action for you here on ESPN. It's the Jets and the Colts. A couple of 6-3 teams trying to catch Miami in the AFC East. Coverage begins with NFL primetime at 7:30. And then we urge you to watch on Monday night. Todd, I know this will get your blood boiling. The old Raider-Bronco rivalry. Oakland has won 6 straight, but they've lost their last 7 to the Broncos. In your era, you never lost 7 straight to the Broncos, I guarantee you. Arch enemies.
You got that right.
Larry Johnson, the ball carrier there.
Hey, you mentioned the Guy Award earlier. Did I ever mention to you that I snapped to Ray Guy?
Yes. I didn't think you want me to bring that up.
No, one snap in a Super Bowl.
It's one of my fondest Todd Christensen memories.
There had to be about 300 or 400 good ones. What's wrong with you?
Well, the bad ones stick out.
Tough. What a crowd. Tough crowd.
Last week in the elevator, ran into a Cleveland fan who remembered one of Todd's great catches in the dog pound, got hit by some dog biscuits and everything. So there's a positive memory. Here's Casey on the run, avoiding trouble, and again, almost effortless the way he gains yards, gets the first down, and out of bounds after the gain of 10. Sports Center in game. Here's Brian Kennedy.
All right, thank you, Steve. Go to the SEC, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Here off the punt, Razorbacks putting this out to Eric Parker. Makes some nice moves here. Avoiding some men, got a good block on 48 yards on this. From there, Casey Clausen hit David Martin for the touchdown. Volunteers lead it 7-0.
Brian, thank you. Brian Kenny, Sports Center in game throughout the afternoon.
Steve, you pointed out the fact early on, remember only 7 yards rushing against Michigan last week, already 60 here in the first quarter.
Little inside pitch to McCoo, and he's out to the 40, and penalty markers are down.
Utah pass, shovel pass, a lot of people have that in their arsenal. Very rarely, though, do I see it work anymore. I think people are catching on to it. Got a face mask.
Looks like Evan Coleman, the defensive end, the junior out of Houston, might have been the guilty party.
You saw Joe Paterno say, that's right, that's right. Point it forward. They're going to tack it on.
Personal foul, tackling by the face mask on the defense. 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Now, of course, watch, take a look at the face right here. Oh, he did. That's a good call by the official. He was pulled on by Coleman, the outside backer. That's dangerous. Tough on those 19, 20-inch necks.
Gives great field position, though, for the Nittany Lions now on 1st and 10. Here's McCoo right up the middle, bouncing off tacklers, and he's down to the 12-yard line. Dwayne Patman prevented the touchdown. An 11-yard gain by McCoo. Penn State very impressive offensively.
And one of the problems, Steve, that they had coming into this game as a flag is down. It appears maybe this one's going to come back. It's right at the point where he was dropped. Instead, you know what? At the end of the play, Steve, it appeared to me that there was a collision downfield. It looked like Imani Bell had hit somebody just a little bit after the whistle, but it wasn't one of those drop dead kind of things. But I think that's what they're going to call.
Dead ball, personal foul, late hit on the offense. The line to gain was reached, therefore we have a first down this way.
There is Imani Bell. Imani, by the way, in Swahili, Todd, means faith.
Well, you gotta have faith that he's going to do that before the whistle is blown, and the result is 15 yards back. Trying to protect his runner, but a little bit too zealous.
We don't often see late hits on the offense. How about the moves by Casey? Well, the first move was great, and the second move didn't fool anyone. He's dropped to the 30. Carl Diggs and Larry Foote combined to bring him down.
Well, right now they should take the opportunity, Steve, because the play clock is below 25. Take your time here. Don't be in a hurry. Let the quarter run out. Go over to the sidelines, chat it over with Fran Ganner, and decide exactly what it is you want to do. See, because you can let the quarter run out. Don't be in a hurry here, especially since the momentum's not in your favor here. Second and about 13.
See if they do get a play off before the clock ends on the quarter. They will. Here's Casey now. Pumps once and completes. Hooks up with his big tight end, Tony Stewart. 6'5", 255. Makes the catch. Casey now 8 for 13. Joe Paterno and Penn State. They have the lead, looking for more as we hit the second quarter. Steve Levy, Todd Christensen, and Leslie Goodell from a sold-out Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. The Nittany Lions up 3-0 and looking for more. They've dominated by 100 yards more Penn State has than Michigan so far. 103 to be exact. Here's Casey now with all sorts of time, able to complete the pass to Eddie Drummond, the receiver. He was dropped immediately, though, by Carl Diggs.
Now you're saying to yourself, what's the big deal? Come on, you got to throw it downfield, get the first down. No, you don't. What you have to do in that situation is not make a mistake. You have the short pass underneath, and the result is you're going to have a little bit shorter field goal for your kicker. You know, we've talked about this week in and week out, Steve. The field goal percentages inside the 40 versus outside the 40 are immense in terms of the drop-off. So this is a very makeable kick for number 29.
This will be a 39-yarder for Ryan Promanti. He's already 1 for 2 on the afternoon. Hit from 35, missed from 49. Bit of a problem with the snap, and the field goal will not make it. Wide right, and that has to be disheartening for Penn State. Another good drive with no points to show for it.
Matt Seneca, the reserve quarterback, was not quite able to get the ball down, but you can see Joe Paterno not very happy with his long snapper. Take a look at the snap and the hold. Here's the snap. He can't quite get it out. He needs to get his hand out of the way. Actually, you know what? That's not so bad. That really isn't so bad. It's just one of those situations that Promanti pushed it, and it's easy to blame the snapper.
So Michigan will take over.
Eric Rickenback is the snapper on that. But again, Steve, I really thought that Hold did a decent job on second look.
Send the man in motion. Henson off play action. Throwing and completing. And there it is. Henson's first completion of the afternoon. He's now 1 for 8. Hits Benny Joe Crew, the tight end. Let's go Sports Center in game with Brian Kinney.
Steve, Miami getting a test now. Pittsburgh driving, and John Turman will hit Chris Wilson here 4 yards for the touchdown. Watch the hit. Holly Rowe on ESPN2 said a lot of taunting from Miami, but Pittsburgh has the lead.
Holly who?
Holly Rowe.
Holly Rowe, our sideline reporter from a season ago. We dearly miss her. On 2nd down and 2. Put it on the ground, Anthony Thomas. And he's right into the middle of the pile. Speaking of fine sideline reporters, downstairs to Leslie.
Why, thank you, Steve. Drew Henson just came over to the guys on the sideline, had it all the offensive linemen on the head, said, hey, guys, one bad quarter, don't let it hurt you, bounce back.
First quarter numbers, Leslie. We'll see what stands out.
Well, certainly, I thought what stood out, Steve, was Penn State's dominance, as you had documented, getting up and down the field, but they only have 3 points to show for it.
We'll give you a look at those numbers after this coming play. This is the second first down of the afternoon for Michigan. Anthony Thomas He's just about halfway out to another first down. As the clock ticks here in the second quarter, Penn State the lead. Justin Kirpakis making the tackle.
Well, this is the one that stands out to me. You just pointed out they just had their second first down of the game with that last run. However, Penn State is putting up some serious numbers on the yardage side, but again, only a 3 spot.
Chris Perry, the lone setback behind Drew Henson. And Perry is your ball carrier, the true freshman. He's tripped up and lands at the 42. Dersick Tolles did the tripping up.
Early on, it appeared that they had their running game going as Thomas made a couple of big runs, but Penn State seems to have settled in now. And what has to happen here is that number 7, Hansen, needs to get going again. He needs to get that offense. He needs to get the passing game going down the field. As the A-train gets back into the game. And the youngster Perry goes out. 47 yards rushing thus far for the Wolverines.
Out of the pro set now. On 3rd and short. Here's Henson across the middle. And all of a sudden he's completed 2 passes in a row. That's the tight end Bill Seymour making the reception, and they'll move the chains.
Isn't that interesting that Seymour really hadn't been a major cog in the passing game for Michigan coming into this game, Steve, but now he's the reason why they have back-to-back first downs. He made that catch on the sidelines and then a tough catch there between the hashes.
Todd, that's the first 3rd down conversion of the afternoon for the Wolverines.
Well, you know my philosophy, Steve. When in doubt, you
go to the tight end.
Thank you.
On 1st and 10, they just get the play away. Here's Drew Henson stepping up and firing across the middle, wide open to Marquise Walker. And Walker lunging ahead for the extra yardage to the 36, gain of 17. And now Henson's got his game going on.
Now we mentioned the fact that everybody has this in their arsenal, Steve, and this is the misdirection play that works so well for Penn State, getting the ball to Tony Johnson, cutting across the field. There's Walker, who does a nice job of motoring down so he can get the ball that's thrown a little bit behind him. Shows some real persistence there heading forward for a couple extra yards. 17, as you pointed out.
Michigan's first real drive this afternoon. On 1st down and 10, 2 receivers top of your screen. Here's Anthony Thomas on the run. Not much there. Jimmy Kennedy, one of the standouts up front for Penn State, making the stop.
Slowly but surely, though, Michigan is starting to get its rhythm in the offense. Run, pass, mixing things up. Stan Parrish, the offensive coordinator for Michigan, pointed out to us, Steve, that last week when you win it at halftime and you had 4 drives and 4 touchdowns, what do you say to people? Hey, you guys need to, oh, you're doing fine. Well, obviously, when he gets to halftime, he'll have some things to say to them here. You see right there. There's Stan. Delightful man, by the way. He'd have kept us there a lot longer if we'd have wanted.
Here's Henson rolling out. Pumps once and is able to complete. And again, it's Benny Joprue, the tight end.
Oh, it's fun to discover those tight ends, isn't it, Drew? It's not all about Walker and Terrell, but those stud bolts wearing in the 80s. And, of course, Michigan's had a few pretty good tight ends in the past. Jay Ramirez, most recent vintage that I recall. Doing a pretty good job up in Buffalo.
Regardless of the quarterback for the Bills, whoever's playing, they've gone to the tight end.
And who's your pick? Who should be the starter?
I think it's got to be Flutie, and they will go with Doug Flutie tomorrow, by the way. Saying that Rob Johnson didn't have get enough reps in practice this week. I'm not sure I'm buying that one way or the other.
Serious investment in the youngster. But then again, age doesn't tell everything. That's a very young 37 is Doug Flutie.
And if Flutie could play every game in Foxborough Stadium, he'd be set. 12-1 all time as a starter, college and pro, off their win over the Patriots a week ago. The Spartans have owned the first half against the opposition. Look at that, outscoring opponents 187-53. And in the second half, things much tighter, as Lloyd Carr explained to us yesterday. That's a bit misleading, the second half numbers. They've had some huge leads, played some second and third team guys, but when it counts, and that's a sign of good coaching, coming out fired up to play a first half and getting off to the good start.
However, on the negative side, let's point out 2 of their losses, they were up 28-10 in the respective second quarters and faded down the stretch. So there's something to be said for the fact that maybe conditioning is a factor.
One of those against Purdue, currently among the leaders with Northwestern in the Big Ten. Anthony Thomas trying to break tackles.
And is able to get the first down, and that's where the offensive line is dominant, Steve. This is an offensive line that is extremely experienced. Of the starting 5, 4 of them are seniors, and the 5th guy is a redshirt junior. And that really helps when you have that many guys up front that know what they're doing. And, of course, a number of guys, as you pointed out, have a chance to play at the next level, Backus and Hutchinson in particular.
Also some talk that Maurice Williams would have some NFL potential, the left tackle. Go through in motion, and flags hit the field.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And of course that should follow as we sit here and we praise the offensive line. Naturally, Jonathan Goodwin, who we did not mention, decides that he wants to move a little bit, and the result is 5 yards backward for the Maize and Blue.
Goodwin is the least experienced member of that offensive line, the only one of them to not start every game, and yet he started 7 straight. So that just means early on in the season there's a change at that position. Michigan, their first 4 possessions, they've totaled 35 yards, Todd. Here on this drive, clearly their best of the afternoon, 57 yards.
I'm sure that's what Lloyd Carr is talking to the line judge about. Hey, we're doing pretty well this drive. Maybe.
1st and 15 after they pick up the hanky. Coming up on 10 minutes to play in the first half. Penn State out in front. Throwing back across his body to B.J. Askew. Askew leaping over defenders. He's got the first down and more. James Boyd brought him down. A little quick pass from Drew Henson.
Take a look at all the white shirts in the direction that they head as a result of Henson going to his right. Watch all the white shirts, and here they come. The result is that when he throws back against the grain to the fullback, there's only one guy that he has to beat. And the result is a nice little block on Horace Dodd, enables him to get to the outside and Askew, trying to do his Ronaldo Nehemiah thing, gets over the top of Boyd and gets some extra yardage for the Wolverines.
Drew Henson coming on. He started 0 for 7 and now has hit his last 5 in a row. On 1st and goal now from the 7. It's Anthony Thomas trying to get around the end. Cuts in, touchdown. Made it look easy. A-Train in the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. With his mom cheering him on in the audience. B.J. Askew, the big block, and Michigan's on the board.
Steve, you're absolutely right. B.J. Askew did a great job of getting out front. He's the one that was able to knock down Yaakov Yisrael. And enable Thomas to get in there untouched. Playing the flank. I like that. A fullback that also plays in the field goal team on the flank.
Hayden Epstein puts it through the extra point. 78 yards in 11 plays after Penn State couldn't connect on a makeable field goal. It's the Wolverines led by Anthony Thomas. They lead 7-3. A-Train and the Penn State offense, rather Michigan offense starting the hub. Penn State's offense will get a chance now. Anthony Thomas, the Michigan record holder, 53 career rushing touchdowns. 52 was the record, and he continues to make it tougher for the next guy. Kenny Watson will take a knee in the end zone, and Penn State will open 1st and 10 from their own 20. Still very much in this football game, although now they trail. And we wondered, Todd, last week after losing, hey, where's the incentive for the 5th time in Joe Paterno's 35 years? They won't go to a bowl game. But they've shown plenty of incentive. They had a great first quarter.
Well, I think that Joe Paterno really hit it on the head. He said, if you can't get excited about this, you've got no pulse. To come into the big house with 111 million people against an institution like Michigan and a team like that. Joe Paterno himself was excited about it. So I figured if the head coach can get excited, certainly the 20, 21-year-old youngsters can.
You just think, college football, if you threw Notre Dame in there in that same group, but Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame, and you first think about college football, these are 2 of the top 3, 4 that you would instantly come to mind. And there has to be the face of college football head coaches, Joe Paterno. And there's a flag on the field.
Prior to the snap,
Got an illegal substance.
false start.
It was a
offense.
false start. You know what? You're right. And Joe
5-yard
Paterno,
penalty, remains first down.
you know, he falls under the heading that if you talk to coaches, ex-players, players from other teams, you're not going to hear an unkind word. And of course, Penn State for years had been the institution to where they have the highest graduation rate of football players. And so Joe Paterno certainly, as well as the administration of Penn State, needs to be commended.
They do more than just win. Even though they're suffering through a down season this season, Larry Johnson is the ball carrier for the Nittany Lions. Larry Foote upended him after the short game.
Well, now we talked about how well they're playing the first quarter, Steve. I think it's incumbent upon them in this drive to get something going, at least get a first down or two. They don't want to go 3 and out now that the momentum has shifted to the side of the Wolverines.
The missed field goal really hurts. The 39-yarder that they missed on. Frank Ganter, the offense, they could have used those points and not given Michigan the kind of field position they had following the missed field goal. Here's Casey now throwing. And again, Rashard Casey right on the money. That to Larry Johnson.
Permane not very happy with himself, as we pointed out, coming into the game 13 of 15. Now he has missed 2 field goals, 1 from 39 and 1 from 49. But again, you know, you can't second guess yourself on those, because then again, the 50 yarders that you make probably are not the ones that should have gone through. So,
and Permane did make a 51-yarder. That is his career long against Illinois a few weeks ago. Timeout is called. Penn State has used their second timeout of the half, trailing 7-3. We'll come back with a key 3rd and 1 play after this.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the new C-Class. Visit us on the web at www.thenewc.mbusa.com. And by 1010-220. Dial it and talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents.
Get a good look at Todd's hotel room from there. Got the penthouse suite in the Burton Memorial Tower here in Ann Arbor. Some 110,000 fans on hand. Here at the Big House, a big play. 3rd down and 1 for the Nittany Lions. With 8.5 to play in the half. Out of the I formation. McCoo not in the game. It's Larry Johnson. And Johnson is your ball carrier, and the Michigan defense there to greet him, led by Larry Foote.
Penn State, as you could see early on, was trying to draw Michigan off sides, and when they didn't get it on the 5 count, they went with their normal play, and Joe Paterno was frustrated, and here's why. He discussed with us yesterday, Steve, the fact that they usually are so physical, and Franny Ganter can't be very happy either. But he said the reason why last week their quarterback threw 51 times in the game is that they just do not have the running game they've had in the past. They got to put the ball in the hands of Casey and have him do things.
David Royer from his 15. Ronald Bellamy is back deep for Michigan. And Bellamy will wave for the fair catch and then fumble the football. And Bellamy looks like he was able to recover it at the 25. College football tradition continues for you on ABC tonight at 7 Eastern. 6th-ranked Washington will host the Bruins of UCLA. Washington still alive in that Rose Bowl hunt. They've won 5 games this season in which they've trailed in the 4th quarter. Washington, UCLA tonight, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, over on ABC. You'll see that on the West Coast.
Because of the precarious wind, Steve, it's going to be difficult for punt returners. And right at the end of the play, it's a great job by Michigan because that ball is bouncing around. It appeared to me that Richard Gardner, the defensive back, was loafing a little bit. He had a shot to get that ball.
Bellamy is on the field. Maybe have a chance to make up for it, but they put it on the ground to Anthony Thomas instead. And Thomas very close to another first down. Anthony Thomas, 12 of his last 15 games, he's had 100-yard efforts, 7 of 9 this season, and he's 35 yards away now from making it 8 out of 10.
Very comforting when you're an offensive lineman to have somebody like that. One of the things that offensive linemen always want is they want a guy that goes north and south. They don't want somebody that messes around, and the A-train doesn't mess around.
2nd and 1. Gotta like this play possibility. Joe Prue, the tight end in motion. They put on the ground at Thomas in second effort. And with that second effort, he should have enough for the first down. You know, Leslie mentioned earlier in the broadcast about the fumble a week ago, tears in his eyes noticed by the coaches, and then talked about the toughness. And you should never confuse tears with weakness. To me, it shows a kid who cares. And maybe there aren't enough young people today who care the way Anthony Thomas is. And people just say great things about this young person in addition to the great football player.
Particularly impressive is that he's not very selfish. He's not about the stats, and he's not about himself. I think that one of the reasons why is you can see him chuckling. You saw Fred Jackson, the running back coach. Intercepted.
Wow.
Kirpakis has got it.
Justin Kirpakis picks it off. And just as Henson and Thomas and the Michigan offense was humming along, there's the pick. And for Drew Henson, that's his first interception of the entire season. One of the more amazing numbers.
Tikas Pettigrew is the man that makes the play, though. He is the one that comes in and whacks Henson, forcing the pop-up. Here it comes from the backside. Pow! Just as he throws the ball. And actually, that's a pretty good job to come off the block. Watch number 37. He comes off his block right there. And it's Johnny on the spot. He's right where he needed to be. Oh, that's a heads-up play on the part of Kirpakis. But as we pointed out, Pettigrew with a big hit forces the turnover for the Nittany Lions.
Henson's first interception thrown in some 300 attempts. That's coming into this game. Here's Casey under pressure. He throws it away and is nearly intercepted. We nearly trade interceptions on consecutive plays. Dan Rumashek nearly had that one.
And what they've decided to do is that they have decided to come with a couple of blitzes of their own. In on the blitz for Witt is Carl Diggs, the outside linebacker, and just as he's going down, he's able to get rid of it. Steve, this is a great opportunity right here for Penn State to call a quarterback draw, and here's why. You want to get this pass rush, which now has a little confidence, want them to get them back on their heels, get your best runner with the ball, which over the last 3 games really has been Casey.
Casey out of the shotgun, 3 receivers in the pattern. And he'll dump it off for McCoo. Underneath, there's running room. McCoo for the first down and more. He's down to the 27-yard line. Dwayne Patman brought him down after the gain of 15. Here's Leslie Goodell. Leslie.
Steve, earlier this week, Jimmy Kennedy, the Penn State defensive tackle, said that they needed to win this game for Justin Kirpakis. Justin has showed the line how to play with heart. He said, we need to go out on Saturday and show him what he taught us. I'm sure that has something to do with Chris Kirpakis having played at Michigan, Justin's brother, so this game extra special for the Penn State defensive line.
Leslie, thank you. Kirpakis with his second consecutive game with an interception. Got his first last week. That was the first of his career. Here's Casey keeping it on the ground. And he is stopped at the 22-yard line by Todd Howard. Well shy of the first down marker. And there's an injured Wolverine on the field. Looks like Dan Rumashek, the sophomore from Addison, Illinois, the defensive end, in a prone position down on the field with 5:43 left here in the first half. He'll get some attention.
You can't predict injuries, Steve, but this isn't necessarily good for Penn State because you had Michigan on their heels and you were heading up the field. Now you have a chance with this timeout to get a little bit stale. Joe Paterno has to prevent that.
Will Shakespeare has a...
When you're about 300 pounds, you would think to yourself, what, a collision with a 183-pounder is not going to be a big deal. Well, you'd be wrong if it would be head-to-head. Look at that. Ouch. Right there, face mask to face mask, and he is out. The arms spread out, the eyes closed. Well, I tell you what, I can remember a game, Steve, where I got hit so hard I actually went back in the huddle and noticed that the colors of the jerseys in the huddle were not my own.
Come on.
Yeah, it's a true story.
NFL?
Yeah, a guy actually pushed me out of the huddle. Said, what are you doing? I said, okay, never mind.
Whose huddle were you in if it wasn't the Raiders?
Oh, how could I remember? I was lucky just to remember that.
Second, actually, it's not funny. Second down and 5. Here's McCoo, the ball carrier, and he is slammed down by the Wolverine defense, led by Larry Foote as usual. Sports Center in game. Another update on that Tennessee game. Here's Brian Kenny.
Here's Steve. Tennessee and Arkansas in here. Tennessee going for the field goal. No, wait. Seth Reagan, the holder, goes in for the touchdown. Little trickeration, 21-0. And at Kinnick Stadium, Iowa leading Northwestern 6-3. They're in the second quarter, 2 and change left for that.
amazing.
Don't have to tell Penn State about Iowa. Northwestern, maybe they'll be surprised today.
It's amazing what a little confidence will do for you, too, isn't it? After a win over Penn State there.
A wild and wacky year in the Big Ten. It's almost like the NFL, where everybody can beat everybody, it seems, on any given Saturday. And that pass, not even close to Kenny Watson off Rashard Casey's arm. Bring up a 4th and 3. Todd, this is the 4th time Penn State is in Michigan territory. So far, they have just 3 points to show for their efforts.
Well, not to put too much pressure on Permandy, but he certainly has to make this one. If not just for the sake of the offense, but for his own confidence. Because coming into this game, as we documented, he had a terrific average. This one is right down the middle.
It looks like it's going to be David Kimball.
Wow.
To give this a shot.
Well, so much for the talk about his confidence.
From 38 yards away, David Kimball, the true freshman, will give it a ride, and no. And the kicking game really letting Joe Paterno and the Nittany Lions down today. Between the 2 kickers, they've missed 3 of 4. The only points they have to show for it are Permandy's 35-yarder. Now, granted, they missed a 49-yarder, but from 38 and 39, other misses this afternoon.
Well, Steve, I'm thinking to myself, is Permandy hurt? Because that's the only reason I could think that you would come in with this kid. He just pushes the ball. Snap good, hold is good. He just pushes it to the right.
And again, it should be pointed out, Permandy came into this game a perfect 10 for 10 from 30 to 49 yards. And so the kicking game was one of the areas they had not struggled in prior to today. So Michigan takes over with Anthony Thomas, well on his way to another 100-yard afternoon. Aaron Gatton the stop.
Well, again, you're putting a lot of pressure now, Steve, on the defense of Penn State, which seems to have spent an abnormal amount of time here on the field in the second quarter. And as explosive as this offense is, as you pointed out earlier, 51 points last week. You can't ask Penn State to keep holding them down forever.
2nd down and 9. 2 receivers bottom of your screen. Nittany Lions drop back. And David Terrell makes the reception there. His first catch of the afternoon for the superstar wide receiver for the Wolverines. They try to get him involved.
Well, he hasn't looked like a superstar early on, dropping 2 balls, one very catchable in the middle of the field. We pointed out big numbers coming into this game, 55 catches for 850 yards and 11 touchdowns. 6'3", 215-pounder, has those dimensions that every general manager in the NFL wants.
Terrell and Walker combining of the 7th best receiving combination in Michigan history, and they're still working on it. Here's Henson under pressure, throws across the middle, nearly intercepted. Instead, it's caught. It's a reception by Bill Seymour, the tight end.
Shamar Finney comes on the blitz and drops him, and really, Steve, I thought this was going to be another interception the way the ball came off his hand. Look at this. It's kind of a floater. You can see the thing going on at the end of run. I thought Kirpakis might have another shot at it, but instead, Seymour does a great job of coming up with the catch, shielding the ball with his body from Kirpakis.
Henson on the last possession, he threw the pick. That was the first interception he threw since October 9th of last season against Michigan State. Simply amazing. And only the 4th of his career in better than 300 attempts. Here's Henson again, and that one is taken off the shoe tops. And a nice grab there by Benny Joe Prue, the leading receiver so far this afternoon for the Wolverines with his 3rd catch.
Well, again, that's either, 5 or 6 balls now that have been caught by the tight ends for Michigan. And a lot of the reason for that, Steve, is because the pass protection for Michigan has been breaking down. Penn State has opted to go with some blitzes and risk having their corners do the job on their star wide receivers. And up to this point, it's been effective for them.
On 2nd down and 9, Marquise Walker in motion, top of your screen. And here's Henson. Draw to Thomas, breaks it to the outside, cuts in now, and he's across midfield before he is lassoed out of bounds by James Boyd. And there's a flag after the 15-yard gain by Thomas.
Penn State decided to go with a corner blitz, and the result is the area vacated by Branch is the one that Thomas is able to take care of. Take a look at the bottom of your screen. Here's the corner. He's going to come on the blitz. Here's the play, and then he's going to come to the outside, and there's going to be no run support as a result of Branch's blitz. Instead, if he takes the balance and he goes towards the running back as opposed to the quarterback, maybe he has the opportunity to make the play. Instead, Thomas does a great job in the open field, getting the yardage near midfield, and of course, the extra 15 yards because of the face mask.
Derek Tolles looked like the guilty party there. Had 3 personal fouls already this afternoon. Coming up on 2.5 to play in the first half. Well, it's not exactly Michigan Northwestern this week, is it, Todd? At 7-3 in favor of the Wolverines.
Well, Stan Parrish, offensive coordinator for Michigan, conceded the point that he said Penn State is a much better defense than Northwestern, and that's certainly proven out.
Here's Thomas now, breaking to the outside again, across the 20. Tiptoeing down the sideline. James Boyd forced him out, and Thomas starting to hum along. And the Wolverine offense, they really seem like they needed some time to get in gear. They've certainly been aided by the Penn State failures of the kicking game.
Well, everybody talks about the left side of the offensive line for Michigan and Jeff Backus and Steve Hutchinson, and rightfully so. However, the right side with Maurice Williams and Jonathan Goodwin are the ones who have been creating the holes thus far for Thomas, as he seems to be very effective running, well, actually, to either side, but particularly at least here in the first half to the right side.
And Toddy's over 100 yards. For the 8th time in the 10 games this season. 16 of 100 for 104 yards by Anthony Thomas. 17th carry of the football game there. Michael Haynes from his left end position took him down.
For a start on the stop along with Michael Haynes.
Nothing like getting in the groove when you're a runner. I always have that debate with coaches, and I like to, regarding the fact that are we better off with a 2-headed system or with the one runner? Anthony Thomas, when you have somebody like this, I think you have to ride him. And don't forget, you know, as a 21 or 22-year-old, it's not as if he's not in shape that he can't carry the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game.
After all, it only weighs 2.5 pounds, right?
I knew that was coming.
Joe Paterno relating that story to us yesterday.
The old John McKay line.
Why can't he carry it 35 times a game? Here's a pass, touchdown! Drew Henson to Bill Seymour. And Michigan on a roll now, 15-yard scoring play.
Steve, just as we have been critical earlier of Drew Henson and his inability to find receivers and be inaccurate, this is his second read, and you talk about a laser shot to the tight end. He's looking to the outside, can't find him, quickly looks back to the inside, finds Seymour wide open for the touchdown. 6 catches now for the tight ends of the Wolverines.
Hayden Epstein on to attempt the extra point. Epstein is perfect. 16 of 17 on the season extra points. Drew Henson started 0 for 7. He's hit 9 of his last 10, and Michigan the lead. Welcome back. Michigan Stadium here in Ann Arbor. And Todd, you get the sense Penn State's starting to lose their grip on this football game now.
Well, 4 times they've been in the scoring area, and they've only been able to come away with 3 points, and that certainly is discouraging. And as we pointed out, Steve, you can't let that defense spend all that time on the field. Anthony Thomas and that offensive line clearly wore them down on that last drive.
Michigan had just 35 yards in the first quarter. Todd, they've got 160 here in the second. We've still got 92 seconds left in this quarter. Epstein booted in the air. And Kenny Watson halfway into his end zone. He'll take a knee. And Penn State will operate 1st and 10 from their own 20. And operating back in the studio, it's Brian Kenny, SportsCenter in game.
Steve, coming up at the half, we'll have the latest of what's going on right now. Pittsburgh trying to hang with Miami. Northwestern having trouble in Iowa City. Purdue also trails early. And, of course, #1 Oklahoma having a lot of problems in College Station. Rodney Gilmore will join me at the half.
All right, Brian, thanks. We look forward to that. So Purdue and Northwestern, the 2 leaders in the Big Ten, both having trouble today against lesser opponents. It's been a wild season in the Big Ten.
But it's been a consistent one. It's really true. On any given Saturday, anybody can be beat.
All that coming up at halftime. And right now, ball batted in the air and picked off. Intercepted. James Whitley down the sideline. Inside the 20, taken down. Tony Stewart, the tight end, the intended receiver.
And poor Tony Stewart 2 weeks in a row. Of course, last week was a very catchable ball. This one is a little bit higher, and there's a lot of mustard on this ball. Rashard Casey drills this ball in to Stewart. I mean, he really throws this ball hard. Stewart with the hands up in the air. It comes off the left hand. That's actually a great athletic play by Whitley to come up with that with the left hand. bring it in. Very costly turnover here for Penn State as their defense quickly goes back on the field.
Whitley Todd has the good hands. The defensive back has played wide receiver in 5 games this season. In fact, the senior caught a pass against Illinois for 11 yards, and he caught that one for the pick. And so here's Michigan really trying to take over this football game here after the interception. Anthony Adams brings down Anthony Thomas.
And you and I finally are in agreement on one thing in particular, and that is after you get the turnover, why do you do that? Why not throw it up into the end zone? You got to take a shot at it. Instead, you get a tackle for loss. And I'm not saying that Penn State's defense is necessarily, just completely fatigued or anything, but you certainly had them on the ropes. Why not go for a big blow?
Brings up a 2nd down and 12 now. And Michigan will take a timeout. Their first of the half. Minute 14 to play until halftime. The Wolverines out in front and looking for more. 2 great American institutions of higher learning going at it on the college football field here today.
What are you, John Facenda now?
One greater than the other. The 21st ranked Wolverines.
Okay.
Actually, it's got to be colder. A little wind, a little sleet, a little snow. What a great Facenda was. Here's Drew Henson firing, and there they're going for it. Terrell looks behind him as if to say he was interfered with, but there's no flag on the play.
Brian Scott, the cornerback, tugged on him a little bit, but that's one of those that you got to let go. And again, that was the play that I thought they would have gone with on 1st down. Now they're 3rd and very long.
Terrell, Todd, just 1 catch today for 6 yards. He's had some other opportunities you documented earlier, but you figured that Michigan has the lead. Terrell would be a factor. This is 3rd and 12, and maybe he'll be a factor right here. Thomas thought he was sprinting off the field for a second. Thomas sprints out to a flanker position, bottom of your screen. And the pass is to Marquise Walker, a middle screen. And he's able to pick up maybe a yard or 2, knocked out of the 15 by James Boyd.
A little disoriented from the beginning, and now Epstein will probably come in and try the field goal here, 4th down. But I think what they want to do here is they want to bleed the clock as far down as they can. And that will be right down to about 26 seconds. I think that's what they'll do. Wait till it's 1 second and call the timeout.
Play clock has 15 left on it. There you see it.
No, it doesn't. It's 11. Wait, 10. No, I think it's 9.
Are you finished? Did you want to keep going or not? With 3. Wow, they really cut that one close. I didn't think they wanted the 5-yard penalty there. Michigan does get the timeout called. We mentioned how different this game is than the Michigan game played a week ago. Michigan leading 51-47 against Northwestern. Zach Kustok finds Damian Anderson, and Anderson unable to hang on. Trying to run out the clock, though. Here is the fumble by Anthony Thomas. Just had it knocked away. Raheem Covington recovers. And then Kustok hits Sam Simmons for the touchdown from 11 yards away. Northwestern defeats Michigan 54-51.
Wasn't Sam Simmons, speaking of number 32 as you look at Thomas, wasn't Sam Simmons the same guy that caught the tip pass against Minnesota? I think he was. You know, that last play of the game when Northwestern threw up that prayer.
That's right, at the Metrodome.
He's the one that comes up. Boy, what a good luck charm that guy is.
How about in terms of history, though, Todd? Think about last Saturday, on the same Saturday afternoon that Northwestern would beat mighty Michigan and Penn State would lose at home in Happy Valley to Iowa. And that also documents what kind of crazy season.
I was going to say it reinforces your point about how very, very balanced the Big Ten has been this year. Parity is the byword.
Here's Epstein from 33 yards away. Lloyd Carr told us he's got as good a leg as he has had in his coaching career. And Epstein is good. Puts it through. Epstein is 2 for 2 on the afternoon. And the Wolverines open up a 14-point lead. 23 seconds before halftime as you look at the opposite numbers of Epstein, the kicking game for Penn State, which has missed 3 of 4 field goals earlier already today. Oh, I mentioned that great game a week ago. Not so great for Michigan, really great for Northwestern. It's become an instant classic. Northwestern racked up 654 yards, the most a Michigan defense has ever allowed. If you like offense, you'll love this one. College Football Classics every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. This Wednesday night, the Instant Classic over on ESPN Classic. And if you don't get it, you can And order ESPN Classic. Dial 1-800-CLASSIC or call your cable provider.
I'm really impressed. You know what? You proffered that John Facenda voice, and suddenly the game's a classic.
That's
just
right.
like that.
And the music
Boy,
comes
you
out.
are something.
Right on. There's a look at the Michigan defense and the numbers. And again,
well, they're balanced.
Yeah, yes. and again, we talking to the Michigan, they were not distraught over the way their defense played a week ago. We need more consistency. Nothing in particular went wrong. It was really shocking when you give up a career all-time Michigan worst. They weren't complaining all that much about it.
In those rushing yards, we should also point out Damian Anderson with his 268 yards against Michigan. That's also the most they'd ever given up to one runner.
Epstein, the low line drive kick. Kenny Watson will have a chance to return this one, but will come up well short of the 20-yard line. With 18 seconds to play, Emmanuel Cassius making the special team stop. Brian mentioned it before. Again, coming up at halftime in our SportsCenter in-game Holiday Inn halftime report. Brian and Rodney will bring you up to date with the action from the Big East. The second-ranked Hurricanes in Miami taking on the Panthers. Of course, a Big Ten update. And pretty good weekend of the Big 12 with a couple of huge games. That's all coming up at halftime in some 17 seconds from now. As Larry Johnson is the ball carrier, staying on his feet, giving you the second and third effort. Julius Curry makes his first stop of the game. And that will do it. Halftime in Ann Arbor with the score, Michigan 17, Penn State 3. Now SportsCenter in-game and the Holiday Inn halftime report. Guys? Time at Michigan Stadium, and the 21st-ranked Wolverines have a 2-touchdown lead over the Nittany Lions. Welcome back, Steve Levy, alongside Todd Christensen. Leslie Goodell will join us with thoughts later. And certainly it didn't appear from the outset that this would be an easy game for Michigan. Their offense was humming last week, some 51 points in that loss. They got off to a really slow start offensively, especially their quarterback.
Really did. I mean, we started off 0 for 5, and in the first quarter wasn't very effective at all, but in the second quarter really picked it up. He ended up going 10 for 12, I think, in the second quarter. It was really, really terrific there in the second quarter. On the other side, you got to give an awful lot of credit to Michigan's defense, who really stepped up in the second quarter to put Casey off of his game. All sorts of pressure on him. He didn't have the same running lanes that he did before. In the first quarter, 6 rushes for 28 yards, 8 for 13. And in the second quarter, not the same. He only had 1 run for 5 yards, 3 for 6 for 29 yards in the second quarter. He's going to have to pick it up. His offensive line is going to have to do a better job of protecting him here in the third quarter.
Todd, this is the 7th time this season Penn State has trailed at halftime. In the previous 6, they have yet to come back even a single time. Let's go to that sideline and Leslie Goodell.
Steve, I talked to both coaches. Lloyd Carr said they're playing okay. He says he's happy with how they're playing defensively, but offensively, he said they can't turn the ball over again. He's disappointed that they turned it over already. He'd like to have more consistency offensively. They've got to protect the quarterback, he said. As for Coach Paterno, he said they've got to make some third down plays. They've made no big plays. They've moved the football okay. They've had 2 or 3 crucial plays where they've had opportunities they haven't taken advantage. He also pointed out the obvious. Field goals have been a problem. Ryan Permane had a poor time in warm-ups today, so apparently that's been bothering him. He didn't warm up well. No injuries, but it has affected his game.
Les, thank you. We saw both kickers for Penn State warming up just prior to halftime, so see if that'll put a little more into their swing of the leg. Underway, second half, and it's Kenny Watson trying to return, but he is piled on by 5 or 6, sporting the maize and blue.
That really wasn't his fault. He was anticipating the ball was going to go out of bounds. I would have done the same thing, but at the last minute he had to pick it up. First half stats are indicative of the idea that it was two very different quarters. As you can see, Penn State dominates the first quarter but could not get the requisite points on the board with only 3. In the second quarter, Michigan State turns the tables and, of course, puts the 2 touchdowns and a field goal on the board, hence the 14-point lead.
Anthony Thomas, over 100 yards you saw for the 8th time in the 10 games this season, with still a second half to be played. Here's Rashard Casey on first down. Handoff up the middle to Eric McCoo. And McCoo is breaking tackles out to the 32-yard line. Penn State hoping that the third quarter opens very much the way the first quarter did. 18 on that game.
Tony Stewart, the tight end, comes in motion and in effect plays the role of a pulling guard. Watch number 89 as he leads through the hole, puts the hit on the backer, and that's the one that creates the big hole for McCoo as he cuts downfield again, a little indecisive as to where to go, but big yardage and a great start for the Penn State offense.
McCoo had just 6 carries for 43 yards a week ago in that loss to Iowa. He's well over that. Heck, he might be over that on this play. Here's McCoo down the sideline. It's a foot race, and he is knocked out by Julius Curry. And here come the Nittany Lions in the first 45 seconds of the third quarter.
Talk about the offensive line and how they've struggled throughout this season, but on these first 2 plays of the second half, anything but. There, the blue shirts are cleared out of the way. Look at that. What a running lane for McCoo as he cuts to the outside. As you pointed out, Curry barely able to drag him down from behind.
Eric McCoo, they talked about, you wondered why his numbers were a bit down on the season. They said they asked him to do a lot of other things that star tailbacks are not asked to do around the nation. So carries of 18 and 45 yards to open up this third quarter. Here's Casey trying Omar Easy to try to change it up with McCoo, and Evan Coleman made the stop. And speaking of McCoo, the offense coordinator said, now does he lead block and play special teams and all those kind of things? Our defensive backs coaches say that we could make him a DB by tomorrow. That's all it would take to put him in the nickel. That's how talented he is.
Number 8 is a terrific athlete. Of course, as you pointed out, he's key in their 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. He leads the Nittany Lions with 3 touchdown receptions coming into this game. They got to get the ball in his hands a little bit more, Steve. Now, as a result of those 2 runs, he is over 100 yards, 7 carries for 103.
And Todd, those 3 receiving touchdowns you mentioned on just 19 catches. Pretty good percentage there as they swing it out to Eddie Drummond. And he is stopped at the 22-yard line, that time by Eric Wilson making the stop.
They keep waiting for Eddie Drummond to get things going in terms of, because he is the blazing fast guy, but thus far only 25 catches on the season. He has had some knee problems, and I think his inability to go the distance is one of the reasons why you see the scoring drives this season.
This would be a long scoring drive. As you see, you never know with those numbers. They've had 9 of those this season. To Michigan with 21.
That's astonishing.
Wow.
That's almost 2 a game. That is really impressive.
This is 3rd down and 11. Really a chance for Penn State to get right back in this football game, should they be able to convert, especially with the problems the kicking game has had. Here's Casey, underthrow, might have been tipped, it's intercepted. Todd Howard at the 5-yard line.
Well, again, it appeared that there was pressure and somebody got a hand on the elbow of Casey. Let's see if we can find it, because that ball certainly was a pop-up. The protection is pretty decent for a little while. Now watch right at the last minute. The arm comes up. Yeah, right there at the end. Number 53 is able to get a piece of him. That's Shanley Orr, reserve linebacker. And that's a gift for Howard, who stumbles a little bit and can't get the return that he would have wanted. But that was his 5th interception of the season.
For Orr, Todd, he had a career game last week against Northwestern with 6 tackles, makes a good play there. And as you mentioned, another pick by Howard. Just about the worst possible thing that could happen for Penn State has on what was a lengthy drive. It will fail to get any points. Anthony Thomas stopped by Aaron Gatton.
This is one of the reasons, folks, why they now have those statistics that may or may not be annoying to you, but nonetheless are very, very relevant, that being the red zone statistics. When you get down there, you got to punch it in. And Penn State now 5 times in the scoring area, only 3 points to show for it.
A gorgeous Saturday here in Ann Arbor. The attendance, 110,803. Biggest stadium in the country. Henson off the play action, rolling to his right with good protection and throwing on the run and completing to David Terrell. And we're going to Brian Kenny, SportsCenter in game for the Miami update.
Yes, indeed, Steve. Miami and Pittsburgh here, and it's already 13-7. Ken Dorsey hitting Ivan Mercer. He'd also run it in for a 2-point conversion, 21-7 in the 3rd.
Brian, thanks. I mentioned what a tough week it's been to be a resident of Florida. That's outside of the college football teams in the state of Florida.
Number 2, 3, and 4 in the country. All from Florida.
Got some athletes down there, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Pretty good place to recruit. Plenty of talent to go around. Speaking of talent, here's Thomas now trying to turn the corner, and he's forced out at the 31-yard line.
Well, Anthony Thomas is showing an array of skills. As we see down on the field is Derek Tolles, the outside linebacker for Penn State.
While Tolles is being attended to, we'll step out. 17-3, Michigan. Back in Ann Arbor, where Penn State is trying to avoid their 4th road loss of the season. Should they suffer it, it would be the first time they've lost 4 on the road since Joe Paterno's first season at Penn State, as Anthony Thomas tries to make that come closer to reality on the carry. Horace Dodd made the tackle. The injured player, Derek Tolles, did go off under his own power and is now getting some attention there.
Working on the neck, and take a look at as he falls. A little bit of a, it looked like he might have the heel right here. Now watch as he falls almost on his face. Pow, right there. Boy, that hurts. Usually used to falling on your butt or your elbows or your shoulders, not on your face. That's a tough one.
2nd down and 6 now. Off play action. Henson really trips over his own offensive lineman and could not hook up with Marquise Walker a bit too far beyond his outstretched arms. Baoju had the coverage.
And Anthony Adams, the defensive tackle, you see there is the one with the pressure, forcing Henson to make the throw go awry. Baoju almost had a shot at an interception.
You just feel these sails sort of taken out of this game. I mean, Penn State was very much in it. Now after the turnover, they feel very much out of it. Could use a big stop right here and try to get the football back. 3rd down and 6 upcoming. They're 3 of 8 on 3rd down conversions this afternoon. Michigan's really good on 4th down conversions, by the way. Best in the Big Ten with pressure. Henson was belted as he leaped. It's picked off. Intercepted by Jimmy Kennedy. And the 6'5", 320-pound tackle is rumbled, and he's brought down to the 25, so maybe right there, just the break Joe Paterno and the Nittany Lions needed.
And take a look who's in on the coverage. It's Anthony Adams, the defensive tackle. What ends up happening, very interesting, you see Adams downfield. There's the ricochet. Pettigrew is the one that gets a piece of it, and he's able to come up with it. Penn State able to utilize some zone blitzes. Remember earlier, Steve, when Kirpakis had the interception, they've been dropping people in coverage, trying to confuse Henson. 2nd pick of the year, as you pointed out.
Kennedy, a 400-pounder out of high school, has slimmed down and makes the interception. Here's Larry Johnson now on the ground, and he'll enjoy that. Victor Hobson made the stop, and maybe a key point in this football game right here.
Any opportunity that the defensive lineman has to get his hands on the ball, that's a thrill. You know, you toil in relative anonymity when you're the nose tackle type. But again, Pettigrew with yet another big play, batting it up in the air, and that's a happy man right there. Jimmy Kennedy. Check it out, Mom, on TV.
So the Nittany Lions now on 2nd and 8. Casey will hand it off to Larry Johnson. Are you surprised by this, especially with the way McCoo was carrying the football the last series? Why they changed it up with Johnson?
I really am surprised because McCoo is going so well. But I'm not necessarily surprised the way they're doing this because they've been running so effectively. And, of course, Casey has been ineffective since the beginning of the 2nd quarter.
Now there's an injured Wolverine on the field. Looks like it's Evan Coleman. While they're attending to him, let's check in with Brian Kenny, Sports Center in game.
Steve, some interesting things going on throughout the Big Ten. First of all, again, back to Kinnick Stadium. Iowa leading Northwestern 13-3. Kyle McCann changing that. Kevin Casper is there. 42 yards, 20-3. Iowa leads.
Wow. Wow. Thanks, Brian. Rest of the action in the Big Ten. The Ohio State-Illinois game will get started in an hour and 45 minutes. But Todd, everybody's talking about being a down year in the Big Ten. Do you see it that way, without a real dominant team?
No, I don't. I think it makes it very exciting. I remember as a kid, it was always an Ohio State-Michigan thing, you know, and I got tired of that. And then others started to break in, and now you've had a number of different teams make it to the Rose Bowl in the last decade.
Evan Coleman being helped off the field for Michigan.
Watch Coleman there right at the end of the play. Watch the right ankle fold up underneath. That's tough. Could be a knee as well.
You know, I know he's limping off. I thought he took a pretty good shot to the head as well from his teammate going helmet to helmet. It wouldn't be the first time we saw that this afternoon. 3rd down and 3 at the 19-yard line of Michigan. Drummond is the man in motion, and they put it on the ground to Larry Johnson, and nothing doing. Michigan reads the play, led by Todd Howard.
Certainly you have to question that play calling, but my guess is the reason they did it is because the field goal kicking has been so poor, Steve, that they thought this was 4-down territory. They punch it in, get, say, 1.5 yards, and go for it on 4th down. Now, as a result of the loss, they're going to have to try a field goal. This one's somewhere between 39 and 40 yards for Primanti.
Ryan Primanti on. He's 1 of 3 today, hitting from 35. He missed from 49 and 39, then was replaced by David Kimball, who missed his own 38-yard field goal attempt. This will be a 39-yarder from Ryan Primanti. Snap for the holder, fired, and it's blocked. The field goal is blocked, and Penn State's special team woes continue. The kicking game has totally fallen apart.
Well, of course, the frustration with that, Steve, is that now the offense feels like, and they're struggling already, now they feel like they have to punch it in the end zone because of the problems that they've had. Watch in the middle, Primanti, let's take a look at the hold, the step, everything's fine. Gets the ball off, but great penetration on the part of Michigan as they're able to come in and bat the ball down. See who gets the hand up from the side. It appears it was a sprinter on the side who's able to come up with that. It's James Whitley, the corner, who comes off the edge, able to get it.
And so Michigan takes over once again. Thomas trying the right side. Cuts it up, and he's got the first down and more. And he's out to the 39-yard line.
You know the phrase that coaches use frequently, Steve, is running downhill. That's what that looked like right there. Michigan got off at the point of attack, pulling guards out front. And there you see Thomas, multi-dimensional, also an equipment guy, and Lloyd Carr has to be happy with the way his offensive line and his runner have been going thus far.
This Penn State defense, Todd, they've been on the field an awful long time. Congratulations to Anthony Thomas, now second on the all-time Michigan rushing list. And Thomas, the ball carrier again, now he's working on #1. Came into this game 336 yards shy of Jamie Morris.
Jamie and Joe Morris, pretty good pair of runners there. Jamie had a couple of years with the Redskins. Of course, you remember Joe Morris, the 5'7" back out of Syracuse, so effective for the New York Giants in their Super Bowl days. And Anthony Thomas, I'll go way out on a limb and say I think he's going to be playing somewhere on Sunday, Steve.
Thomas had a collision last year with LeVar Arrington in this Penn State game. They said Arrington was the one that had to leave the game, not Thomas. As Chris Perry is the ball carrier, Bob Jones makes the stop.
It's got to be a good feeling for Thomas to do as well as he is doing here in his very last game at Michigan Stadium. As you pointed out, take a look at the numbers that he has put together. Not so well against Penn State in the past, but today, certainly his best day against the Nittany Lions.
He'll come back into the football game and look to add to those numbers on a 3rd and 10 upcoming from the 39. Two receivers top of your screen, the right of Drew Henson. Here's Henson now. They set up the screen nicely to Thomas. He's got plenty of running room. Two blockers in front of him. Cuts it inside, middle of the football field. And it takes 3 Nittany Lions to drag them down at the 15, led by Baoju and Brian Scott. 46-yard gain by Anthony Thomas.
This screen is set up very well, and the offensive line gets out and does a nice job to be in front of Thomas. Take a look, folks, at the end of the play, though. Now watch Baoju at the point to where he touches him. Take a look here coming out front. There the lineman. Now watch as he cuts to the middle of the field. Watch where Baoju first touches Thomas, how many yards he gets. Okay, right there at the 30. He touched him at the 30, and he's tackled down at the 15. That's persistence on the part of number 32.
On 1st down and 10 now after the big gain by Thomas off the screen. They hand it off to Perry, and he pounds it near the 11-yard line. Ron Graham and James Boyd made the tackles.
Again, we mentioned the experience of Michigan's offensive linemen. 138 starts amongst that group, starting to wear people down.
Well, Thomas off that screen reception. This is one of the more amazing numbers to me. Most rushing touchdowns without a touchdown catch. Anthony Thomas, 48 of them, and they're on the receiving end. And breaks another tackle, too. Would have had his first since all that time. Of course, the other guys on that list without a receiving touchdown have done pretty well. Gone on the Heisman trophies. Handoff right side. Chris Perry trying to turn the corner and cannot. Taken out nicely by James Boyd. Update time, SportsCenter in game. Once again, here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, let's get back to Michigan State and Purdue. Michigan State leading 9-3. Jeff Smoker cuts into his tight end, Chris Baker, and Baker rumbles through. How about this? 15-3, Michigan State leading Purdue.
And it's amazing what is going on week after week after week. And, you know, we look at the two teams that really control the situation in the Big Ten, Northwestern and Purdue, and both find themselves in trouble today.
So maybe what Leslie pointed out at the top, you and Leslie did, that if indeed those two teams were to lose, Michigan right back in it.
That's right. Michigan, Ohio State next week to close out the campaign. Thomas, the ball carrier there. Ron Graham made the big stick at the 10-yard line. Purdue and Northwestern will both have to lose their final two games. And then next week would allow the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game to head for the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
The crowd is rumbling for them to go for it, but there's no decision here. You've got fourth and 4. You're going to kick the field goal. You want to go up by 17 points to force Penn State to score 3 times, which certainly up to this point they haven't indicated that they could.
Hayden Epstein is on. He's 1 of 1 this afternoon. This a chip shot. There should be at least from 25 yards away.
Delay game on the offense.
All of a sudden, not so much a chippy anymore.
Now 30 yards is still very makeable, but it was interesting that Michigan actually vacillated on the possibility of going for it there on 4th down, which really I think that's kind of a no-brainer, Steve. When you're up 17-3, kick the field goal. Don't give Penn State any reason to get back in this game or to get any sort of emotional swing.
Epstein, by the way, has thrown a pass this season. This from 31 now after the penalty kick. And the kick is up, and it is good. Hayden Epstein, perfect on the afternoon. And so far, it's been a pretty perfect afternoon for the Wolverines.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by BestBuy.com. Buy online, return to store. BestBuy.com. Now, wasn't that easy?
Just like playing catch here in Ann Arbor. Michigan under Lloyd Carr. They're 33-3 against unranked opponents. Very much like the Nittany Lions are here this afternoon. Penn State will get the football. Larry Johnson. Actually, Johnson has not returned that one. It's Kenny Watson on the return. Actually, it was one of the upbacks.
Actually, it was Mick Blossom, fullback. Reserve fullback who stepped back. You're never supposed to do that. Let the guy run up. But he was excited to get the ball on national television. And now, as it has been throughout the game, the pressure is on Rashard Casey. Although, you know, I mean, McCoo with 100 yards, you're thinking, you know what? And with 5 minutes remaining here in the third quarter, they can still run the ball. But Casey still needs to make a couple of plays.
McCoo sprints out to a flanker position now in their 3 wide receiver set from the shotgun. Here's Casey looking McCoo's direction, and he connects, but he's unable to make any yards after the catch. It'll bring up a 2nd down and short. Todd Howard had the coverage on McCoo.
Number 8, got to get the ball in his hands. He can make some things happen downfield. Of course, that's one of the reasons, as you pointed out, that they flanked him out and put him in the wide receiver position.
Here's Casey now. Throwing across the middle. A bit too high, but a catchable ball that Kenny Watson could not hang on to. SportsCenter in game once again. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, let's drop into Indiana and Wisconsin. Badgers lead at 14-6 here, but here's Antoine Randall, the running quarterback, and off he goes. 58 yards for the touchdown. He made it 14-12. They went for 2, did not get it. Still 14-12. And Iowa leading Northwestern now in the third quarter. Less than 4 minutes left in that quarter. It's 20-3.
Keep us posted, Brian. Thank you. McCoo, the lone setback. They send the tight end in motion, Stewart. Play action to McCoo, is really tackled in the backfield. Casey throwing across his body. Complete to Eddie Drummond for a big gain. And Drummond looked like he lost the football out of bounds, but it is a completion and a big gain for Penn State. 35 yards on the reception.
Same play that they did earlier, remember, Steve, in the first half when they were able to get Johnson. This time coming completely across the field. And the result is that for whatever reason, Cross is in on the coverage. Look at him running across his face. Corner leaves him to Cross, but he's wide open. He has to stop a little bit. Cross strips him of the ball inside the 40. But another big pass play for Penn State.
On 1st and 10, out of the pro set from the shotgun. Casey puts some air underneath that one. He could not hook up with Kenny Watson. Our storyline from Ann Arbor, which is brought to you by the U.S. Army. Not exactly sound in the kicking game, the Nittany Lions. Plus, they've thrown a couple of picks. Anthony Thomas, second all-time. Maybe on his way to first all-time, and this is senior season. And look at the difference in the first quarter. Michigan was just stuffed by Penn State. But since then, they have taken over the football game.
Well, as we talked about, probably the residue of that Northwestern game they were able to put behind them after the first quarter, and they've been very effective ever since.
This is the 7th time that Nittany Lions are in Michigan territory, and they've got just 3 points on the board. Middle screen, they set it up nicely as Casey completes to Omar Easy. Another player they want to get the football into the hands of is Easy, and Larry Foote makes the stop.
Now here it is, situation 3rd and 2, and I'm thinking to myself that maybe Fran Ganter is thinking 4-down territory. So not unlike the last time, you could see a simple run between the tackles where normally 3rd and 2 you might want to go wide or throw a short pass because the kicking game has been so ineffective.
Handoff to the fullback, the quick hitter, Mike Saramili, for a short game.
Steve, I don't think there's any decision at all. As ineffective as the kicking game has been, down 17 points, I'm sure that Joe Paterno is going to go for it.
As you look at Ryan from Anthony, I think at this point he would agree with you as well.
Not exactly sprinting out there on 4th down, was it?
No. So here we go on 4th and 1.
6 of 16 is not very good, and of course they bunch everybody in with a 3 tight end package.
Michigan excellent against 4th down conversions. Let's see. On the ground, they pound it to Paul Jefferson, and he's pushed back, and the football is loose. Flags are down on the field as Michigan trying to pick it up, and they're stopped. Todd Howard was there along with James Whitley.
My guess is, Steve, that this is going to be offside and Penn State's going to catch a break. That's what Joe Paterno thinks too.
Wow, and what a break it is.
It looked like in the middle of the line, Steve, they had that cocked defensive lineman a la Joe Green, that you were up nose tackle. That may have been the man that was offside.
Offside on the defense. 5-yard penalty results in a 1st down.
Maybe the first break Penn State has gotten this afternoon.
Take a look. It doesn't appear that anybody jumps off sides, but I think that was the case, Steve. In the interior, there was somebody that was in the neutral zone. The result, as you pointed out, a 1st down for Penn State. Much needed 1st down.
3-yard line. 1st down, Penn State.
Jim Herman, defensive coordinator, now is looking a lot smarter than he did last week, certainly. 7 times, 3 missed field goals and interception, only 3 points to show for it.
Fresh set of downs for Casey and the Nittany Lions. Casey with all sorts of running room if he wants it. Waited too long and is forced out of bounds at the 20. Oklahoma, Texas A&M. Let's get an update on that one from Brian Kenny, SportsCenter in game.
Steve, A&M has already taken out K-State in College Station. Now looking to get number 1, Mark Farris to Robert Ferguson, 17-10, Texas A&M in the 2nd quarter.
One of 2 big games in the Big 12 this afternoon. Brian keeping you posted, SportsCenter in game.
Certainly one of the more frustrating years for Fran Ganter, offensive coordinator for Penn State. Injuries to his offensive line, his wide receiver core.
2nd down and 6 now. Casey there from under center taking that snap. Here's McCoo trying to keep his balance and is just shy of the 1st down marker. James Whitley tripped him up.
Got a couple of good blocks downfield, but that initial hit was just enough to spin him around. He tried to get his balance. This is set up very well. You can see all the blue shirts right on top of him. Dumps it off. They're just penetrating just enough to get a piece of him. Good play there by Carl Diggs. Otherwise, McCoo might have gone the distance.
That must be such a helpless feeling by a defensive lineman or anybody in the front seven. You're inches away from the quarterback, and then you know, uh-oh, they're all set up behind me,
right.
and I can't do anything about it. Of course, the idea of that is try to keep the pass rush down for the next time that you might be thinking about that. On the key 3rd and 1, Penn State calls timeout with the play clock dwindling down. 2:19 to go here in the 3rd. Penn State looking to get back in it. Don't want to overstate things, but this might be the ball game. 3rd and 1 at the Michigan 15. Penn State trailing by 17 late in the 3rd quarter. McCoo and Ciaramilli, and it's Ciaramilli. They try the quick hand to the fullback, and again he doesn't get it. Carl Diggs made the stop.
Now, I know they're frustrated with their field goal game here, but they've got to kick one. And the reason they do is because they have to score 3 times. They've got to get a field goal at some point here, and it makes sense because it's right in the middle of the field. It's about a 30-yarder, and Joe is just can't decide what, well, he did decide what to do. They're going to go for it. This is under ordinary circumstances. Certainly you kick a field goal to make it 20-6, get yourself within 2 touchdowns. But these are not ordinary circumstances.
Well, a frustrating season for Joe Paterno and the Nittany Lions. Here's Casey. 4th and 2 after the loss of 1 by Ciaramilli. Here's Casey rolling to his right under all sorts of pressure. Casey with nobody to throw it to. Now throws it towards the end zone, and it's intercepted and run back out. Larry Foote. And it's intercepted. An ill-advised throw by Rashard Casey. And Penn State has nothing to do, no points to show for on another drive.
Well, Steve, you say ill-advised, but it's 4th down. You might as well put the ball up in the air, otherwise he's going to be sacked. Michigan gets penetration. The play action fools nobody on 4th down. He rolls to his left, throw across his body. He's being pursued all over the place. He just puts it up for grabs, and it is picked off. But really, he had no choice. It's 4th down. He's got to take a shot, hope for something to go his way. And again, I come back to the kicking woes of Penn State. Certainly there, they can get a little momentum, kick a 30-yard field goal, get people feeling good about themselves. Instead, they have to go for it. It just affects so many phases of the game, Steve.
It's interesting how if you miss a field goal early, how that can affect your thinking late in the football game. Anthony Thomas, the ball carrier, and back to Brian Kenny. Brian.
Steve, we've got an update now on the 2 one-loss teams in the Big Ten. Start off with Northwestern and Iowa, and Zach Kustok will punch this through. So now it's 20-10. Northwestern down by 10 in the 3rd quarter. Meantime, they're at the half, and Purdue trailing Michigan State 15-3.
You see Ryan Permane on the sidelines, arguably the unhappiest man in the building.
Again, not like he came in a slump. He's kicking very well all season. Just slumping today. Here's Anthony Thomas. He's tripped up and knocked out at the 40-yard line as we come up on the final half minute here in quarter number 3. James Boyd upended him. Leslie, what do you have?
Well, I'm here with Helen Gilbert. This is Anthony Thomas's mother. And what's it like for you as a mom to sit and watch your son carry the football so many times?
Sometimes it's very hard, though, but I enjoy it.
What does he talk to you about when you guys talk about football?
Well, a lot of times I would try to give him encouragement because before I moved down here, he would have to call me after every game, and so he would just find out what his mind is and everything. But he enjoyed it.
Well, a tough weekend for him last weekend. Did you talk to him after that, and what did you tell him?
I just told him to hold his head up because he won't be the first and he won't be the last, and so it's just a game. And you have did your best. You have played so hard.
Thank you very much.
Affectionately referred to as the Mama Train. The mom of the A Train. Anthony Thomas over 100 yards this afternoon. Christensen, Leslie Goodell, Steve Levy from Ann Arbor and Michigan Stadium. Better than 110,000 on hand as usual. Michigan in command, up 20-3. And looking for more. Here's Drew Henson, all sorts of time, rolling out now, facing some fresh pressure. And the ball was tipped away and out of harm's way as it hits the turf.
Good job by the Penn State defense to read that screen. They were completely not fooled.
bring up a 3rd down and 10.
Again, Steve, one of the things that's deceptive here with the score 20-3 is you look at that and you see Anthony Thomas with all the yardage and you assume that Penn State's defense is not playing well. That really isn't the case. Personified by that 3rd down conversion coming into this game, Michigan have been 53%. And so they've done a nice job with Drew Henson. He hasn't done anything particularly special, certainly not compared to what he's done the last few weeks.
And I'm not sure Michigan's defense has played all that well.
Right.
You know, Penn State's been able to move the football, and by virtue of their own mistakes, only have 3 points to show for it. So misleading it in 2 counts.
Lies, damn lies, and statistics, huh, Steve?
Henson, 12 of 24. Consider he missed on his first 7 pass attempts of this game, and his numbers are not that bad.
2 interceptions.
Yep. Picked off twice, going for 1 touchdown, 147 yards. From the shotgun, here's Henson on the straight drop back. What a ball that was. David Terrell takes a beating, but he'll get up. I think Henson's best pass of the afternoon.
It really was, because he's the one that takes the beating. You'll see Terrell from the top of the screen able to get open on the deep slant. Here he comes upfield. Fades inside. He's able to get it. It's a nice catch, but Henson had Adams right in his face. Here it comes. Anthony. This is a pro throw right there. Look at that. How far downfield that ball has to be. And still he gets hit and knocked down.
Terrell's 3rd catch of the afternoon. That's first big play. That goes for 25 yards. The flags fly. You know, you would think Michigan leading 20-3. Terrell had been a major factor.
Prior to the snap, ball start on the offense.
Coming back to Henson.
5-yard penalty. Remains 1st down.
Coming back to Henson for a minute, though, that really shows his arm strength, that he's able to put the ball downfield as far as he was able to with that 300-pounder right in his chest. Scouts are certainly impressed by that.
The interception number is bizarre for Henson, considering he had just 3 in 300 career attempts prior to today. It's picked off twice, and we brought up that number with the Michigan offensive coordinator, Stan Parrish. He's like, oh, yeah, sure, he'll throw 6 tomorrow, meaning today. And, oh, here he's got 2 anyway. Here's Henson. They're not going to blame us for that. B.J. Askew off the screen pass. Taking it down to the 10. 5 touchdown. B.J. Askew. That looked like just your normal screen pass, and instead it goes for a 40-yard touchdown for Michigan.
Remember that play was so effective earlier, Steve, the exact same play where Henson is going to his right, comes back, throws to his fullback coming across the other way. All of the white shirts are going in one direction. The result is Askew this time, instead of just getting it down to about the 5 or 10, is able to go the distance. So go ahead.
Askew's second big play of the season, caught a 58-yarder in the opener from John Navarre, but that didn't go for a touchdown. This for 40, and it does go for the score. And Hayden Epstein off the upright and through, and it's all going right for Michigan. Henson's another touchdown pass. This one thanks mostly to the legs of B.J. Askew. The Rocky season continues for Joe Paterno, and he said it yesterday, no one's going to feel any sympathy for us. Penn State doesn't get a whole lot of sympathy around the nation, and again, only the 5th time in plus 35 years they will not be headed for a bowl game. Larry Johnson carrying it out from the end zone, out to the 10, bumping off tackles, and makes a nice return out to the 25-yard line. More great college football for you coming up over on ESPN at 4 o'clock, just over an hour from now. You'll see the 14th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Illinois. And the way the season's been going in the Big Ten, I like the Illini in that game. Georgia and Auburn, that's your nightcap, 7:30 Eastern here on ESPN. Over on ESPN2 at 6 Eastern, the 20th ranked Rams of Colorado State take on Air Force, and then LSU and Ole Miss on ESPN2. That's 9 Eastern. New quarterback in the game for Penn State, and it's Matt Seneca, the sophomore from Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Seneca is belted as he releases, but completes to Tony Stewart. Your thoughts on the new quarterback, Todd?
No, it makes sense. You're down by 24 points in the heir apparent. You might as well give him a chance to get into a big game and get his feet wet. Rashard Casey was effective early in the first quarter, but after that just couldn't get it done. Now gives Seneca the opportunity to show his wares.
Seneca, one of 5 current Lions from that High School, Allentown Central Catholic High School, as an injured Wolverine is attended to on the field. While they're checking on Eric Wilson, let's get an update now. SportsCenter in game with Brian Kenny.
Steve, we'll get back to Miami and Pittsburgh, and the Hurricanes going to make a statement here. James Jackson is going in 7 yards, so now 35-7. At the same time, could possibly be moving up in the polls. Oklahoma trails at the half, but only by a touchdown to Texas A&M.
Well, we're talking about Matt Seneca, and this is the welcome to big-time football. Right in the face. Ouch. Pow. And why is it that and that was Wilson, the one that hit him? Why is he the one that went out? That makes no sense. He was the hitter or not the hittee?
Seneca has played in every single game, mostly on special teams. He's thrown 31 passes prior to this afternoon. That time it's Larry Johnson on the run. Carl Diggs made the tackle.
You know, as we watch the highlights of Miami and Pittsburgh, in case those of you who are watching are not aware, the national championship game is indeed in Miami.
Out of the shotgun, here's Seneca. Put it up for the second time this afternoon. And he short-hopped his receiver, Eddie Drummond, who didn't give a great effort in getting to that football.
Well, Seneca's more of a pocket guy than Richard Casey. He's the guy that's going to stand in there and do what he's told. Richard Casey, this is probably a year that he'd like to forget. So much promise last year as he shared the quarterbacking chores with Kevin Thompson, put up some big numbers, and everybody's anticipating that Casey was going to have a huge year. But don't forget, Penn State lost an awful lot of players last year. And, of course, that number right there is the one that stands out.
Lost 9 starters on defense, Todd.
Right.
Seneca will throw, and that ball is in and out of the hands of Larry Johnson. Another reason for some of Casey's troubles, the allegations. He was involved in an altercation with an off-duty police officer. Those charges were dropped a couple of weeks ago, and he's played much better since.
And speaking of drop, that's what that ball was. Hit him right on the number. That's a very catchable ball. Johnson's got to get that one.
David Royer will punt it away to Ronald Bellamy, and Michigan will get the ball and look to bleed off some of that 13-26 here in the fourth quarter. Low snap, handled nicely by Royer. And Bellamy will let it bounce and bounce out of bounds at the 23-yard line. Michigan will take over, up 27-3.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Nissan. Driven.
Yes, you are. You are on ESPN. What happened to the old send money days?
I guess they're rich here.
Got the ATM card here. Handoff to Anthony Thomas. He pounds his way to the 25-yard line. I figure we'll see a lot more of this the rest of the way, with Michigan up 27-3.
Or Hamas.
One of 14 Wolverines in their final game, their last chance to hear the cheers here at the Big House. Of course, Thomas and the whole freshman class, they had a pretty good freshman season. They won a national championship here in 1997. One of the 11 national titles won in Michigan's 121 seasons of playing football. Thomas will carry the ball, try on the right side this time. Cuts it inside. He's out to the 31-yard line. He wisely stays in bounds. Jimmy Kennedy will stop. And as Michigan embarks on a drive, we look at how the possessions have gone this afternoon.
Well, certainly in the case of Penn State, they have been ineffective, as we have documented. And unlike last week, when Michigan was practically automatic every time they touched the ball. Again, we mentioned the fact that Penn State's defense has nothing to be ashamed of, despite the score, but Joe Paterno's offense has been unable to get anything started since the first quarter. 7
times on the Michigan side of the field today. Penn State's been there, and yet they have just 3 points to account for all of that. Here's Thomas. On the left side, see if they can knock another letter off his jersey. Anthony Adams made the stop.
Again, let's give a little credit. Let's get a little credit here to the Penn State defense. Still running hard, still pursuing, able to catch Anthony Thomas from behind.
Speaking of the Penn State defense, Adam Teleferro, they really miss him. The freshman cornerback. You can see the number 43 on the helmets of the Nittany Lions. You might recall on September 23rd against Ohio State, suffered that severe spinal injury. And we understand he is making great progress. And that is terrific to hear. Bruce Branch is back deep for Penn State. Hayden Epstein will punt it away from his 15-yard line. Penn State has set up a fund for Teleferro. It's great what Ohio State is doing, considering they were involved in the play. Sales of that particular program being sent to that fund for long-term care for Adam Teleferro. And for the first time since the accident on September 23rd, a week ago last Wednesday, he made his first public appearance and was in great spirits.
They got me doing everything just like I was training at Penn State. I mean, they got me working my shoulder, all parts of my body got me working. I mean, got the legs move a little bit, a little bit of that. Move my arms and all that. So I mean, yeah, fingers. So I mean, it's working. So I mean, I'm grateful.
Great to see him. Great to see the motion, but great to see the smile on the face and the chuckle. The new quarterback, Matt Seneca, loses the football on the snap, and it appears Michigan has the ball back.
Well, you could use that excuse that it's a new quarterback working with the center, but that would have been more effective last series when he was actually in the game. Van Gander just can't believe how poorly things are going. Does he pull back a little too soon? Who knows?
Looks like Sean Lazarus recovers. Penn State's 4th turnover of the game. They came in clearly at a talent disadvantage against Michigan. You turn over the football 4 times in addition to that. Obviously asking for trouble, and they have received it.
And you can see that Joe Paterno was more than just frustrated. He's actually angry because it's not just that they're playing poorly. It's becoming a bit of an embarrassment when you just can't get the snap from center.
Here's Drew Henson now under pressure, looking for more. Throws, picked off, right into the hands of Tikas Pettigrew. And Pettigrew now looking for extra yardage. And he'll just go down now at the 25-yard line. So Henson is picked off for the 3rd time this afternoon. That is simply amazing.
I couldn't wait to say that, Steve, that Stan Parrish was only half right yesterday. He said he's going to come out and throw 6 interceptions.
And he was joking, of course. We were astounded to find out that Henson hadn't thrown an interception all season. Just 3 in 300 career attempts. And here today, he's thrown 3.
And again, Steve, reinforcing the point that we have made throughout the contest, and that is that Penn State's defense is playing well. You get 3 interceptions. You do what you do to this quarterback, who's arguably one of the 5 or 10 best in the nation. You know, you should be in this football game.
Evan Coleman looks like on his way back. Getting some attention to have his leg looked at. He was banged up in the first half as well. And so Penn State will take over with Matt Seneca out of the shotgun. Gets another chance with the football. Under pressure. Seneca takes off. Was pounded down. For more on the Adam Teleferro story, here's Leslie.
Steve, it's really unbelievable how positive Adam Teleferro is. I was at the press conference last week. He really believes, and there's very good reason to believe, he will walk out of there. The team has stood behind him. They come to visit him frequently. Joe Paterno talked to him a couple days ago. Recently, they choreographed a picture in the number of 43. Paterno said he thought it was going to take 3 days. Defensive coordinator Tom Bradley was probably a little more realistic when he said it took longer than the practice itself, but they got the picture together. It is now hanging in the Teleferro's home, and if all goes well, Adam wants to walk out with his teammates out of the tunnel next year, although he'll never play football again.
Thank you, Leslie. As Larry Johnson was the ball carrier there, and it should be pointed out, and it's really secondary, but I was not aware of that until this week, that they were really counting on Teleferro. not just a good kid, something bad happened to him. He was expected to be a standout on defense for years to come for Penn State.
Joe Paterno acknowledged the fact that he was a terrific athlete, even as a pure freshman, that he would have made a difference in an already strong secondary for Penn State.
Omar Easy stands to the left of Matt Seneca. Nothing's been easy about the effort today for Penn State. Seneca putting it up in the air. He's got a man. Complete. Brian Johnson, touchdown. 50 yards, Seneca to Johnson. One of the 6 Johnsons on Penn State comes up with a touchdown.
Oh, the youngster shows that he can throw the long ball. He put that one right on the stride for Brian Johnson, who catches it without breaking stride. Terrific throw by Seneca. And now instead of even bothering with the extra point, they're going to go for 2 as well, Steve.
Brian Johnson, speaking of talented true freshman, he was just that a year ago. He was one of just 3 true freshmen to see action last year. And here in his sophomore season, gets the touchdown. A 50-yard bomb from Seneca. Going for 2 here. Here's Seneca throwing back of the end zone, and that's complete and good for Eddie Drummond, the 2-point conversion. And all of a sudden, Penn State has made the score respectable with still 9:23 to play here in the 4th quarter.
Well, here's the situation to where the youngster comes in out of the shotgun, plants his feet, and lets it go. And you can tell by the reaction, he's got to be thrilled. Right on the money for the Nittany Lions.
.923 left here in 4th quarter action. Michigan a 27-11 lead. And might figure on seeing an onside kick here and see if Penn State can inch even closer.
Boy, you are crested.
Game. Thank you very much.
Nice prediction.
You know, it's amazing with the way the Big Ten has gone all season. This one has actually gone according to the plan, almost what you would expect to this point in the game.
Yeah, it would, but again, the rest of the Big Ten isn't. I thought it interesting that Leslie Dell at the top of the show points out the fact that, well, you know, they're playing for some other bowl, some sort of, you know, they have an outside shot of the Big Ten. Now suddenly we discover Northwestern's getting beat.
That's right.
Michigan State is beating Purdue. And if those things come to fruition, then, of course, that Ohio State-Michigan game is going to be that much more important.
All of a sudden, next week could come down to the Rose Bowl game. That should Northwestern and Purdue lose their final 2 games. And, again, both losing so far this afternoon. With 9:18 to go, here in 4th quarter action, Penn State has made it much more respectable. Michigan has the football and look to bleed some more of that clock.
Now remember, you can see that Lloyd Carr is anything but relaxed, and part of the reason for that, Steve, is that the 2 losses that they had, remember, or their 2 most recent losses, not the one at UCLA, but against Purdue and Northwestern, they had 28-10 leads.
Very close.
And I think they, you know, were a little bit complacent, kind of sat on it, and he doesn't want that to happen here.
Henson, inside handoff to Anthony Thomas. Sports Center in game. Get an update now. Here's Brian Kenny.
Hey, Steve, Todd, give you an update here in the games you're talking about, Northwestern and Iowa. And here's Kyle McCann plunging through. So now it doesn't look good for Northwestern. Final 6 and change, 27-10 Iowa, and Michigan State leading Purdue still. It's 15-3 in the 3rd quarter.
Again, should those 2 teams lose today and lose their final games, then it's very likely that Michigan at Ohio State next week will decide the Rose Bowl berth for the Big Ten. Simply amazing. Flags fly as Anthony Thomas attempted to carry the football.
And this is the sort of thing that you didn't want to happen. You want to bleed time off the clock, but don't take a foolish penalty like this, which is delay a game.
Delay game on the offense. 5-yard penalty remains.
Remaining schedules, including today, you see Purdue will get Indiana at home, a game you would say, hey, you figured on them winning, but you figured them beating Michigan State today.
Sure.
And Northwestern at home against Illinois, but you would have to figure the Wildcats would take care of Iowa today, and simply not the case.
Well, let's remember, too, something to point out.
To keep the clock moving. Looks like Justin Kirpakis put the hit on him.
I was going to say that's wisdom on his part that he went down just before he went out of bounds, because stopping the clock at this point when you're up 16 points is a no-no, and so the clock remains constant.
6 bowl berths are out there at bowl tie-ins for the Big Ten. 4 of the schools already eligible. Of course, there's the outside chance that one of the Big Ten schools will make the BCS, and then maybe a 7th Big Ten school could be eligible to go to a bowl. 3rd and 16 upcoming.
Set the clock to read 7, 4, 6. Thank you.
And they'll prolong it by adding 4 extra seconds.
I was impressed by Lloyd Carr's resilience. I would have thought he would have been very frustrated as we talked with him yesterday regarding the Northwestern game. I mean, they just had the thing won. I mean, they had it won. You know, in fact, if you think about it, if Anthony Thomas just falls down,
right?
You know, if he falls down,
let alone the big gain.
Yeah, that's it. Instead, he said, no, we put that behind us. We focus ahead, and they've shown how well today.
Here's Henson, all sorts of time. That time to pick and choose his receiver. He chose Ronald Bellamy, who went up but couldn't bring it down. Carr is in his 6th year here at Michigan. Each of his previous 5 years, they've been a top 20 team. Here in year 6, they're ranked 21st. And a loss here today certainly would knock them out of the rankings altogether.
Well, that's not likely to happen. And again, the big game with Ohio State, as it is every year, will dictate an awful lot about what happens in the Big Ten and, of course, a number of the bowl games.
Be interesting to see. Ranked 21st, should they hang on and this be your final score? Could they drop in the standings? Against Penn State here at home?
Hard to say. Depends on what a lot of other things that are going on happen.
Epstein from his 30 to punt it away. Shanked it off the side of his foot and out of bounds. Let's see where they spot it. And they will mark it at the 47-yard line. So Penn State will take over in great field position. 9-yard punt. Welcome back. Matt Seneca leading the offense for Penn State. Found a sudden burst of enthusiasm, hooking up with Bryant Johnson on a 50-yard pass play. And let's see if they can rekindle some of that fire. McCoo could not handle the hard throw by Seneca. Larry Foote on the coverage.
Hayden Epstein gets a little bit of a low snap, but again, you can't put that all on the hiker. That just goes off the side of the foot, and that's going to kill his average. 41-7 coming into the game, but 9-yard punts aren't going to do much for you. And of course, Michigan not helping themselves out too much here, Steve. Last 2 possessions, they had an interception and that 9-yard punt.
You mentioned his season average for Epstein. His career average is 40.8. It's the second best in Michigan history. Here's Seneca. This time McCoo can handle. And he's bumped out at the 44. Number 1 team in the land. We were talking about the rankings. How are they doing? Let's get SportsCenter in game and an update now from Brian Kenny.
Steve, again, get back to College Station here. Jamar Toombs knocking on the door. Big man pounding through. And now it's 24-10. Number 1 trails and number 2 leading big. Could be a switch. It's 35-7 Miami.
All right, Brian, thank you. Blow out of the orange.
Interesting point here, Steve. That could set up a rematch of the Miami-Florida State game.
That would be great.
That'd be something
special to watch. Here's McCoo. Banged down inside the 45-yard line again by Larry Foote. Here's your top 10 on the ESPN USA Today coaches poll. This is, of course, prior to action today. What a shakeup it could be.
And here's what we were talking about. Things that are happening in the Sunshine State. Well, they may not be able to count, but they can sure play offensive defense.
They've got voting issues, but no football problems. And quite frankly, that's professional football as well. Dolphins, the Bucks have really come on lately as well. This is the 9th time Penn State's in Michigan territory. And they have just 11 points. Here's Seneca on a little quick handoff to Eric McCoo, and he's bounced back. Larry Foote leading the way. Foote having himself a ball game for Michigan.
And Jim Herman is very proud of his charges there, defensive coordinator for Michigan. After last week's debacle, he's got to be very pleased with the physicality of his group, particularly in the front 7. Once again, 4th down. handoff. They clog the lanes. He's got no place to go. I'm surprised Penn State continues to do that. Why not bootleg one time or do something to the outside? But instead, they jam it up the middle. Michigan's waiting for him.
This is a Michigan defense that you know all week heard all about their performance. They allowed nearly 150 yards more than any Michigan defense in history has. And that was that game last week in the 54-51 loss to Northwestern. So you figured they would be poised to play today, and they've been pretty good at that. Here's Anthony Thomas off left tackle for a gain of 1 or 2. Aaron Gatton brought him down. Gatton's 5th stop of the afternoon.
How many carries is that for Thomas? It's got to be 30, doesn't it?
We'll get Marty right on that in terms of total carries for Anthony Thomas. Up to 32 now, Todd. Good for 158 yards.
Just like his number. Must be fun, you know, if you're an offensive coordinator, to know that this guy is going to pound out somewhere between 100 and 150 for you every game. That certainly creates a lot of the openings for Drew Henson. Stan Parrish has done exactly that. The mad scientist.
Thomas came in as the 5th leading rusher in the nation. Average yards per game, and he'll add to that Tikas Pettigrew bringing him down. Let's go down to the field once again. Here's Leslie Goodell.
Hey, Steve, earlier this week, former Michigan head coach Gary Muller was named head coach of the Detroit Lions after Bobby Ross resigned suddenly. Muller's son, Andy, is an assistant coach for the Wolverines, and he told me it was a big surprise for everyone. He said Dad called about 15 minutes before the announcement was made. He said it was a crazy day, but he was looking forward to getting into it, and he had always wanted to be a head coach again. Muller was 44-13-3 with Michigan in 5 seasons. I would imagine that would be okay if he did that in Detroit.
I think they take that in Pontiac, Leslie. Lloyd Carr, by the way, did play a little phone tag with Muller this week. Offer congratulations. They did the voicemail thing, and Muller at his press conference when he was introduced said, hey, you know, what a great football fan base we have here. You know, we can fill up the Pontiac Silverdome with 80,000. You get your 110,000 here, and another 70,000 or so in East Lansing. It's a pretty good football state.
That's certainly a tradition every Thanksgiving. I remember as a kid watching Alex Karras and Roger Brown, Paul Newmoth, that tough defense that they had, Darius McCord.
I remember as a kid to Lawrence Taylor on Thanksgiving Day.
You know what? You know what? Now, why are you doing that?
The Giants.
Why are you going to do that?
That big run back against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Well, 6 years ago.
Hey, you know who threw that ball?
No, I don't.
Gary Danielson. Gary Danielson threw that ball. Our colleague at ABC.
Whose son is playing in the Big Ten.
Thomas Carey backing up at Northwestern.
Anthony Thomas, the ball carrier, stopped by Anthony Adams, an Anthony collision.
But you're right. And speaking of great helmets, that's one of the great helmets. That lion, I love that. That's cool. Bobby Lane.
Pulling out all the great lions.
Yeah, Larry. Come on, man.
Coming up next, the Acura College Football Scoreboard Show. It's on the way. And, you know, every Saturday it gets better. The scores become that much more important and surprising as well. You want to watch the whole show. Henson's pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage. Justin Kirpakis.
The pass was deflected by number 37, Justin Kirpakis.
Here he is. He waits. He knows he doesn't have a sack, but he's able to get his hand up in the air and bat it down before Askew, who's been quite effective for Michigan. As a pass receiver coming out of the backfield, forces the punt.
Kirpakis, whose brother, the former Michigan Wolverine. Bruce Branch is back deep to receive this punt. Hayden Epstein will put it in the air from his 45. With 3:41 to play in the fourth, Michigan would appear to be in control. High spiraling kick. Branch will let it bounce. And it bounces into the end zone, and Penn State will take over 1st and 10 from their own 20 when we come back. We apologize. We took a timeout. The game did not. And while we were away, Matt Sanica put some air underneath it. Ball batted up in the air. 5th turnover of the day by Penn State. And it's Todd Howard, his 2nd interception today. Continues to lead the team with 6 on the season.
It was the same play that he had for a touchdown earlier, but unlike last time, Walker, excuse me, not Walker, but Howard rather, did not have the safety help. This time Patman comes over, collides with Johnston. There's the ball up in the air, and the result, the second pick of the day.
Hand off to Chris Perry. Maybe we've seen the end of the afternoon for Anthony Thomas. At last look, 32 carries for 158 yards for Thomas. I want to rest up for next week at Ohio State. Could turn out to be a critical game in the Big Ten, depending upon what happens the remainder of the afternoon with Northwestern and Purdue, and of course next Saturday. The numbers on Thomas: 35 carries, 171 yards, and the 1 touchdown in the second quarter. In case you're just joining us, the first quarter was owned by Penn State. They had a 3-0 lead and probably should have had 6 or 9 points. Field goal problems. They've had 5 field goal attempts today. Officially 1 of 5. 1 was blocked. 3 were missed. Henson will hand it off. And it's Chris Perry again, the ball carrier.
Ball carried by Chris Perry.
Tim Falls made the tackle for Penn State.
Chris Perry is going to be the guy next year. I have a lot of confidence in him, and certainly they must, else they wouldn't have him out there as a true freshman. You mentioned the 1997 National Championship team. Anthony Thomas as a freshman, and that's a statistic that would surprise you. You would think that Michigan would be quite dominant. Instead, it's just about even. Anthony Thomas as a freshman made a lot of contributions. In fact, it was pointed out to us by both the head coach and the offensive coordinator that he indeed had a couple of really key games for them when they had their runners hurt. Came through in a big way.
Helped make Lloyd Carr the 97 National Coach of the Year. Was AP's national champions that season, going 12-0. And then went on to win the Big Ten title again the following season. Back-to-back Big Ten titles. That's always impressive in this conference.
That was the year, Steve, that they played Washington State in the Rose Bowl with Ryan Leaf at. Exciting. That was where Brian Griese, with his father on the air, quarterbacks them to a victory in the Rose Bowl MVP. What a thrill that must have been for both of them.
And you have not been back to the Rose Bowl since, huh?
I have not.
You're not going to blame that on me, are you? We are Fiesta bound again, as that is booted away by Epstein, who winds up on the turf, and a flag. With 1:50 to play here in the fourth. Contact on the punter.
Well, Epstein certainly hopes that this comes back once again. They called that an illegal substitution, which seems very strange, and Joe Paterno is not very happy about it.
Mentioned his least favorite part of the job, dealing with the media. Doesn't look like he's having much fun dealing with the officials either.
Well, but to his credit,
we apologize for whatever technical difficulties you might be experiencing.
I'm not sure that Joe is aware of the roughing the kicker penalty. But what I was going to say, Steve, is to his credit, you know, so many times when you've got a coach who, you know, the game's out of hand, we're not going to win, big deal, I've done this a million times, and he's still emotionally involved, he's intense. If I'm a player on that team, that's
Your College Football Today scoreboard show is coming up next. You'll want to stay tuned for that. What do you think it is with Penn State and technical problems for us? Of course, the last time we had a Penn State game, we had a minor electrical fire in the truck that took us off the air for a quarter, and here's some more problems.
Joe is livid about something, really trying to make his point. And of course, when you watch the replay, you had noticed that Larry Johnson, the reserve tailback, who was the one that collided, actually was holding himself up. And I think that's the point that he's making. There was nothing. Larry Johnson was absence of malice, to use the old Sally Field, Paul Newman movie line, or title rather.
You look at Joe Paterno, 73 years old. And you would think every year it would be a decision. Hey, is he coming back? Is he coming back? There's really no question. The first year of a brand new 5-year deal.
Right.
That's simply amazing. What a pleasure it was just to shake that man's hand. one of the great faces of college football. Perry again, the ball carrier. Again, Anthony Adams makes the stop with 1:40 to play here in the fourth quarter. Looks like Joe's signaling for a timeout here, Todd.
He wants to take it right down to the end, battling to the end.
And there it is. First timeout used by Penn. Actually, the second timeout Penn State has used this half. They used one in the third quarter. Well, there's more great college football for you tonight here on ESPN. It's an SEC showdown. Rudy Johnson. I'll tell you what. It's Auburn and Georgia. They'll go at it tonight. And on ESPN2, Josh Booty and the LSU Tigers collide with Deuce McAllister and the Ole Miss Rebels. LSU needs that game to maintain a share of the SEC West lead, while Ole Miss trails a half a game. And there, look at Rudy Johnson's numbers.
You know, last year when we were talking with Tommy Tuberville, we said, is the runner that you're going to have for the 2000 season here? He says, no, he's not on campus. And he was exactly right. Rudy Johnson came on brand new this year for Auburn and is putting on a show for the Tigers.
Minute 29 to play here. There is no quit in Joe Paterno and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Just the 7th time in their 114 years of playing football that Penn State had a 6-loss season, which will go to 7 this afternoon. The last time was 1988, the last time they failed to make a bowl. But prior to that, the last time they had a 6-loss season was 1931. So again, no sympathy for either of these two programs when they suffer the rare down season.
And as we pointed out, 30 bowl games in 35 years. That's pretty impressive. No bowl for you.
Thanks, Jerry. This is a program that lost 15 starters a year ago. Not just any 15 starters. Think about Courtney Brown and LeVar Arrington. And, you know, they try to reload. Next year, they're optimistic. But this year, Paterno said, and the problem is he understates everything. So when Joe says, hey, 7 wins will be difficult to get to, nobody really believes him anymore. But he was right on the money. And they will not get to 7 wins this season. They'll be happy with 5 wins as Gino Capone makes the stop on Chris Perry. That's if they can win next week. And Penn State uses their final timeout with 1:24 to play here in the fourth quarter. Well, Michigan responds nicely from what took place a week ago at Northwestern in the 5th highest scoring game of all time. 150 points, 105 points in the game. And let's say Anthony Thomas has shaken off the effects of his final play fumble a week ago rather nicely.
199 yards last week, 171 yards this week. You'd think that maybe he'd be a little shell-shocked. He was not. And the conversation that you pointed out that Lloyd Carr had with him privately must have done a lot for his spirits, because he was terrific today.
Lloyd Carr appears that he'll be the first coach to ever defeat a Joe Paterno-led team 4 straight years.
And he would tell you that's no big deal, but it is. I mean, that's got to be quite a notch in your belt. To have defeated arguably the greatest college football coach in history 4 straight years is pretty impressive.
And Todd, when you think about it, it's not surprising because they've only been in the conference since '93. But you think about these two great powers. You would have thought they've met 30 or 40 times.
He's going to go.
Chris Perry takes off, and he is angled out of bounds at the 3-yard line.
Well, what happens there is you bunch up. You have literally 10 guys in the box, and if you can break away from that first wave, maybe you can go the distance. And as
maybe Michigan a little payback for Penn State using all 3 timeouts here.
Here's the misdirection. Great blocking at the point of attack. Boyd misses the tackle, and he's off to the races. Fortunately, on the other side, right at the end of the play, number 32, Brian Scott, is able to push him out of bounds.
After the 32-yard gain, bring it up a 1st and goal.
Now, if you're Michigan and those timeouts, do you try and score here, or are you content just to kneel and let it go?
Interesting to see. Henson. Michigan's looking to pound it in. Now, if they put it in the air, that would really be something. Chris Perry, the ball carrier. Tikas Pettigrew makes the stop.
Well, judging by the animation on the sidelines, hustling people in and out, I think they really are trying to score. I think it would be quite a gesture, though, if you were to kneel down here, wouldn't you?
I would agree. Wonder if you start, this is one of those times to think about rankings and what the score will look like, the final score will look like.
Certainly a consideration. That's right. 34-11 would be a little more impressive. Could move them up.
Final 35 ticks on 2nd and goal. It's Perry. It's not as if they're bringing Anthony Thomas back into the game. Let's see if Michigan will use a timeout here.
I was just thinking the same thing, wondering. I think they're going to be content to let it run out, though.
Michigan has all 3 as Thomas watches from the sideline.
Or I could be wrong.
Crowd urging them to go. 8 seconds left in the game. Here's 3rd and goal. On the ground, and Chris Perry, touchdown. Made it look easy. 5th touchdown of the season for the true freshman, Chris Perry, and with 1 second left in the game.
So what do you think of that? What do you think?
I'm trying to think of Lloyd Carr's argument for speeding things up and going for it, and maybe he will hit us with the poll and the rankings, and that's the reason. I think I would have chosen to let the clock run out.
Me too. I was thinking sportsmanship
because
here.
You really had to hustle to get that play off. You had to really try and get that last score, and they did.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
And here's Aiden Epstein. Michigan doesn't have enough players on the field. Here's James Boyd now to make it 11. And it's blocked. The extra point blocked. So both teams struggling in the kicking game department. Look like Anthony Adams got the block.
Might have come from the side that Victor Hobson was on, too, as he came in. And Lloyd Carr looks a little dour for being up by 22 points.
You mentioned Victor as they play Hail to the Victor. Hail to the Victor.
Was that what that is?
Yes. Just trying to help you out there.
Only
We talked with Joe about the struggles of the team. You know, is it fun for you still at this point? And he said if it's easy, what's the sense of being in it? And I enjoy struggles, though I doubt he's enjoying this struggle here this afternoon.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, that's all well and good, and I agree. I really respect that man, yet at the same time, I'm sure that he'd rather be 9-2 or 10-1 at this point rather than 4-7.
An insulting 1 second remains on the scoreboard clock. And as soon as things conclude here, including the handshakes at the end, we anticipate handshakes. We'll send you to the Acura College Football Today scoreboard show. Brian and Rodney are standing by for that. Don't forget, more Big Ten action coming up for you here on ESPN in some 25 minutes from now. Ohio State and Illinois will go at it. Dave Ryan on the play-by-play from Champaign, our partner. Here's Epstein to put it in the air. Final play of the football game. Low line drive kick that will not be returned. And that 1 second remains on the clock.
Well, actually, if it touched somebody, it should have gone off. But maybe it went through all the hands.
Oh, this is just bad, Todd.
Yeah, it is.
You just feel bad. Somebody cut Joe Paterno a break.
Not good theater.
He's
here.
earned a break. He's earned a second.
Now, will Penn State kneel down? What do you think?
Play action bomb. Boy, that would be something, huh? So maybe there is some drama to this final second.
Or not.
I'll let you know in a second. Seneca under center. He'll take a knee, and that'll do it. Zeros on the scoreboard. Lloyd Carr in Michigan. They're going to a bowl game. Joe Paterno, just the 5th time in his 35 years. The Nittany Lions will not go. as the two very successful coaches exchange handshakes. For Todd Christensen and Leslie Goodell, this is Steve Levy. We send you back to the studio and the Accurate College Football Scoreboard Show. And for that, the capable hands of Brian Kenny and Rodney Gilmore. Guys?
All right, that's the classic where you're telling your wife, honey, there's 1 second left. Tell me to watch 1 second, and it goes about a half an hour. You don't like the way that turned out. With about 35 seconds left, we were in agreement. Hey, you right at the one, you try to punch it in, but the way it happened, they had to force that to happen.
You take the knee. You got Joe Paterno on the other side, and all he's done in college football. No need to put an extra touchdown on the board in this ball game. You let it go. Michigan doesn't help them a whole lot now. They still have to have Purdue lose today and lose next week for them to get to the Rose Bowl, and Purdue is trying to come back in their ball game.
Yeah, we're going to get to all that and give you the whole breakdown of all the games in the Big Ten, of course, taking you up to Ohio State and Illinois at the top of the hour right here on ESPN. That could be a big game for the Buckeyes. Start, though, with number 1, Oklahoma. And this is a sign of the times in college football. The Sooners' 8-game winning streak is the longest in the nation, but very much up in the air now in College Station. Take a look, pick up the highlights here. Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Bob Stoops trying to stay unbeaten, stay number 1, BCS polls and everything else. Josh Heupel, though, picked off in the second quarter. Jason Glenn picks that off for A&M. And that with Oklahoma having a 10-7 lead. Now Sooners with the ball after a field goal would tie this up. And Heupel with the throw, complete. Ball is loose.